How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Aristill,
Fenurian,
and Volacel, and we're to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week, such as it was another quiet and, for several of us, tiring week. But first of all, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server and chat to the hosts and other listeners to the show. And you can get to that server most easily by clicking the link, which should be in the show description underneath the video, or you can go to vtwproductions.com and click on the show logo on any of our recent show posts.
Yes. So, we all kind of need a nap right now, but on the stream, I'm playing a bit of Monster Hunter World, which is about freaking time I put that on the stream. I'll actually end up playing... this is me playing it over the last few days, but during the course of the show, I'll end up playing through pretty much the entirety of low rank.
Yeah, I couldn't face the reality of having to go through it again, I don't think.
Yeah, it's not that the monster fights are bad, because you got the Guardian armor, the Guardian gear, and you can just power your way straight through low rank.
It's the farming and the time investment and that.
Yeah, there's that.
But they've got a sync schedule, don't they?
To bring it back, bring it up in line with the PlayStation version.
Yeah, I heard that they released a roadmap which had a sync.
I believe it does sync up at some point. Yeah.
Sometime this year. I'm just not quite sure when.
Yeah, like all the content's pretty much already made for the PC. They just need to adapt it over. So anyway, as you can tell, I caved and bought the PC version, since you can now buy, Monster Hunter World and Iceborne for a very generous price, even without discounts.
Was somebody needling you to play on PC?
Multiple people.
So does that mean that I'm never going to advance through the game any further than I am now?
I'm going to have to keep coming back to the PS4 version, because that's where all my progress is and all my special unlocks and things. But yeah, everyone else, aside from you guys, insists on playing it on the PC, and they're wrong. But yeah, if I want to play with all my other friends, then yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just not willing to shell out $120 to grind through everything again. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not going to do that.
So yeah, but that's been pretty much the part of my gaming this week. We have another game I do have another game to talk about. We can talk about that in the news. But yeah, going back through the original storyline, it's just fun to go in and low rank and just whomp on monsters. But there's a few things, like, because it's a PC version, you're still at the mercy of your system specs, which was fine initially. Like, I just turned it up to high graphics and the game looks phenomenal. Until I got to Rotten Vale, where the stank clouds just tanked my FPS.
Yeah.
So I believe at about the halfway point, I'm fighting a Great Gyros in slow motion. Like, it doesn't, if you're in single player anyway, it doesn't drop any frames. It just slows the whole game down.
But that's not what PC is for. PC is for replacing all of the character models with Shrek.
Yep. I could install the mod that makes Thomas the Nergigante tank engine.
Yes.
Not Nick Gigante?
Definitely not. That thing is horrifying. So yeah, you can do mods. Mods are fun. And not necessarily good.
Wait. We can get mods that make the characters not look like they're Neanderthals.
That's true, but it doesn't. A lot of them don't fit the rigging very well.
Yeah, that makes them look really weird.
The fact is that when the fidelity is really high, because you're not playing a crappy Bethesda game, the actually rejigging the models requires a lot of effort, and most model creators aren't willing to go to that sort of like professional developer level amount of work just to change the models. And I don't even know that they've got access to that much of the rigging that they could do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually seen any mods which use entirely new rigging. So what you end up with is gluing things on top of the existing models, and so they always look slightly wonky anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen some deeply horrifying Fate ones.
Yeah. One mod I think would be an essential one for the PC version. Skippable cutscenes. Like,
I don't know if they've got that sort of systems level access to do that.
Yeah, I don't think they do. Because that would be the first thing people would make. But, yeah, I love you, Monster Hunter World, but I want to skip your cutscenes. Because I've seen them already. I just want to beat on things.
Monster Hunter isn't exactly a story-heavy game.
Nope. We are fighting monsters for science.
Like, I would have to pause my podcast to listen to your story, Monster Hunter, and I ain't gonna do that.
Why would you do that? Then you have to listen to the handler.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody wants to listen to the handler. She's annoying. So yeah, yeah, having fun going back through that and having friends pop in and occasionally. Well, actually, one of the fights you'll see towards the end is a Legiana fight. A friend joined just in time to climb all the way up to the top of Coral Highlands and bop Legiana on the nose once and kill it.
What?
I'm a bit salty about that.
What?
Yeah. Like, I was fighting this thing and had it down to one hit death, and he just runs in and steals the kill. Oh, well. So yeah, Monster Hunter World, it's still great. The new event is currently going on, where you can make everything look spacey and starry and weird. Which has actually kind of got people
So
playing
you can
through
be
the
Tim
games.
Curry.
Yeah. I guess.
Because you've got to go.
Got to spice.
You got to go to space.
Yeah. Tim Curry makes everything better. So, yeah, the new event's up if you want to do it. It's giving some really cool weapons, which aren't quite Safi Jiva level, but they're pretty close.
Are you required to have a level of skill required to kill Safijiva to get them?
Nope.
Oh, that's nice.
They're event ticket weapons.
Right. But does the event involve fighting like two Arch-Tempered Nergigantes simultaneously?
Not that I've seen.
Okay. Because like just you saying it's an event ticket, I've had to do some pretty obscene things to get event tickets in the past.
Yeah, I think this one is just fight a regular Barrios in an arena.
That's almost as bad as fighting Nergigante for me, to be honest.
Barrios is kind of a jerk, yeah.
He's not my friend at all.
Which one was Barrioth again? He was one of the newer. No.
He's the saber-toothed snow wyvern.
Oh yeah,
thing.
he was the one I liked.
He's just got a movement pattern that I can't deal with. You know how you settle into certain ways of playing when you've got a weapon that you're really fond of?
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain monsters that are just hard counters to that way of playing. Barrioth is one of my hard counters.
Yeah. You're fighting with him with a great sword, and that's kind of hard mode. Because he doesn't hold still. Yeah.
Well, I can shish kebab veiled Valhazak, but Barrioth can still cart me.
Yeah. I did get a bit sidetracked actually playing through this. Like, I could have gone through low rank a lot quicker, but if a monster turned up and it was in the way, I killed it anyway. Like, you don't have to kill that first Rathian, but I did anyway.
I used to do that, but then I realized I wasn't making any progress because I was just running from place to place and then running out of time.
Yeah. Like, you don't need to kill that first Legiana, which I did anyway. You don't need to kill the first Rathian. I did it anyway. Or Zitzi, when the story tells you to go find him. I did anyway. So
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. But,
remember that Jagras that one time? What were we even fighting?
I can't remember, but he turned up and we just wailed on him. Admittedly, that kind of happens to Jagras a lot.
He shouldn't have picked a fight.
He shouldn't have. Hell.
It was out of his weight class.
Jagras really doesn't pick the fight most of the time. Like, he's just there and you can take him out in, 2 minutes?
Poor Jagras.
Poor Jagras. So I'm probably going to keep my week fairly short, but haven't done a whole lot otherwise. I've watched a bit of anime, but this anime season has really nothing new worth watching except for Isekai Quartet 2.
Yeah, it's pretty grim, to be quite blunt.
It's a catch-up season.
It's just been a time off season for me. I don't have the energy for anything, so...
Like, Hero Arca is still going, and it's kind of wrapping up its arc at the moment, and it's just punching people right in the feels. Stop it.
I like this last season of Hero Aka a lot.
It's been really, really good.
I got not quite as far as Valhead in the manga before I put it back down.
Yep.
And I was really impressed with what they did this season. It was very good.
They did a really good job of it. Haven't actually watched any Fire Force over the last few weeks, so that's gotten a bit ahead.
Well, it's stopped airing, hasn't it? Like, didn't they hit the end of the season?
Possibly? I don't know, I'm a bit behind, so...
So am I haven't really kept up.
Yeah.
I've been too tired lately.
So I don't know, maybe it's time to go back and actually look at the intend to watch pile, of which there is a lot in there, and pick something from that. The to watch pile has only been growing larger over the last few years. What else? That's been about it. Most of my week, aside from just general work, has been fixing computers. Or, namely, one computer, multiple times. So, yeah, my parents are kind of cursed when it comes to a computer at this point. Their first computer died. I cobbled it together out of, two systems to make a Franken computer that worked. Then it didn't all of a sudden. Ended up replacing the core internals of it, and that worked for a couple of days, and then all of a sudden it stopped.
Sounds like a power supply problem.
Nope. It was a short on the front panel USB ports. So the case is broken.
You should, if you're going to test a computer, you should always unplug all of the possible things you can from the case. Because if the case is the problem, it's always going to be the last thing that you find.
Yeah. So I actually did that on that test. So that's how I found that. But it's just been every time I fix something, something else breaks. Like the first time it broke, it was the power supply.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Then it was the motherboard. And,
As much money as it would probably cost you to replace all these parts, there comes a point when you need to just throw your hands up in the air and say, get a new PC.
Well, at this point, if they swap out the hard drive, they will have a new PC.
There is a Gunlance mod here that does exactly one thing, and it adds Megumin shouting explosion when you use Wyvern Fire with the Gunlance.
Yes! Admittedly, I kind of do that sometimes anyway. But, yeah, it's the explosion gun. It's the explosions weapon.
A lot of these are just cheats, though.
Yeah, I don't want cheat mods.
And I consider most of these UI mods to be cheats as well.
If you're not wrestling with the UI, you're doing it wrong.
Well, they just do things like they give like hit point tallies and part damage tallies and everything, and party health and numbers and percentages. And so this is like you're turning it into an MMO interface.
Yeah,
covered in mods. It's like that's not Monster Hunter anymore.
We don't want that.
Monster Hunter is a game with stupid long load times where you get in there and you have to remember how the menus even work every time you boot it up.
But
nothing should be intuitive.
As far as monster health goes, you pay attention. That's how that's supposed to work.
No, you download a mod and it adds a health meter to your UI like a pleb.
Yeah.
Just how do you tell how much health a monster in Monster Hunter World has? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We'll put a mod on it.
You, as far as I'm concerned, you should always be fighting at 100% until it keels over dead. So why would you care how much health it had left?
Yeah. Because if you slack off, it will jump on your face.
It must be for those obnoxious speedrunners that infest the PC community.
I guess. I mean, you've got Team Darkside, and they don't use the mods. They're the only ones that really people care about.
I don't think people care about that. I
No.
don't think anybody cares about. The only people that care about speedrunning in Monster Hunter World are Monster Hunter World speedrunners.
Yes.
Who would speedrun Monster Hunter World?
It's like super, super popular and super, super cancerous.
Yeah. Like, it is
Like
cool
they judge your worth as a human being based on your loadout.
Yeah. It is cool to watch someone bring down an Elder Dragon in, 5 minutes, if that?
That's arguable. I don't think it's necessarily cool because a lot of the time they use incredibly cheeseball strats that aren't cool at all.
Oh, they do. And that's why it's cool once.
I don't get it. Why would you speedrun Monster Hunter?
So, yeah. Monster Hunter is still fantastic, though.
I bet all the speedrunners use fire resist fall. Ooh, I'm lagging.
Yeah. It is actually worth noting. There are some downsides to the PC. Like, there was that bug where it would occasionally delete save files. They've seemingly fixed that now.
That's kind of an important one to be sure they fixed.
Yeah. That's an important one. Occasionally it will do weird things with the connection, like it'll just disconnect for no apparent reason. But the load times are significantly better.
Yeah, that's a pretty big selling point.
That's a massive selling point. So that's why you'd want to play it on the PC, is it just does not take forever to load.
I don't want to buy a new computer as well as buy a $120 PC version of Monster Hunter.
So yeah, that's been my week, is computer repair, work, and a bit of Monster Hunter. Plus one other game which we'll talk about later. So, Vol, did you do anything this week?
No, this week has been absolutely awful for me. It's just been, you go into work, you work for like 10 or 11 hours, and then you go home, and then you eat something and pass out. That's pretty much it. So, I had big dreams of going into Setsubun properly prepared, and all of those have been horribly, horribly dashed. I have not managed to do as much leveling up as I would have hoped. So, I managed to improve a couple of sabers in that, which were a class that I had very short numbers of for doing a complicated event like Setsubun. From what I've been investigating about previous people's experiences with it, it's not as bad as some people make it out to say. Apparently, a lot of provided that you use the tools available to you on the wiki to determine what are going to be in the stages between bosses, you can pare your team down to a handful of very weak servants with the right CEs, so that you don't have to expend any of your heavy hitters getting up to the bosses, and then you just basically blow them on the boss stages. And the thing is, though, that it's tough for some people who use different strategies to me, because I very rarely use my back line if possible. I try and do everything using only my front three, and that's the ideal for Setsubun, because you don't want more than 3 in your party, or you'll exhaust the backliners who never even come in. So, yeah, maybe it won't be too bad, but I just don't know if I'm going to have the time to do a good job of the event. And the main reason that bothers me is those gold foos sitting at the top of the ladder. But, well, there's not much I can do about that. I'll just have to take it as it comes. Hopefully this coming week will be easier than this week past has been at work, but I have no reason to believe that will be the case. I just hope that it will. Azure Lane, I blew all my resources and managed to get all of the gacha construction boat waifus, but I haven't managed to get any of the event ones that are earned yet, because as it turns out there's a huge amount of grinding involved, and the most efficient way of grinding I can't do because I don't have powerful enough boat waifus, is what it comes down to. I can barely scratch the boss. Level difference is a huge deal, both to your advantage when farming and to your disadvantage when you're trying to punch above your weight. I tried doing the EX rank fight, and I got sliced and diced in very little time whatsoever, and was barely able to scratch the boss. So, yeah, I have to basically use lower skill level stuff to grind, which takes a lot longer. And you're more or less capped though, so I'm not going to end up spending huge amounts of time on it because you can only aside from the top level one where you have to earn tickets in order to participate in it, the other difficulty levels are all capped at 15 attempts a day. So once you use those up, you don't have to like just keep grinding forever or anything like that. There's no advantage to you to do that. I did finish my second playthrough of Trails in the Sky first chapter on Monday, but I didn't end up having time to do anything else all week because of work. Thanks, work. Thanks, adulthood. You
Thanks,
suck.
work.
I hate you.
You need to stop adulting and do second chapter.
And then I need to become a neat and just sit there all day, holed up in the darkness with my games.
Tempting.
No wonder people do that. It's very, very tempting. But then you become a useless waste of space and you lose the ability to critique other people's being useless wastes of space. So, yeah.
It might be a small price to pay, that.
It might be. Some days it feels like it. It really does. I would rather just get a job that doesn't, make me want to kill myself, or more likely burn down the lab. We're sort of cresting that point where half the staff are contemplating mutiny again,
Fun.
which seems to come around every other month where I'm working. Like things will get better for a couple of weeks, and then as soon as as soon as we've had enough time to get comfortable with things starting to move back towards the sane schedule, then the bottom falls out again, and everything is terrible forever.
Yeah.
I don't.
Somebody in your lab's gonna like release the next coronavirus or whatever in New Zealand, just to spite everybody.
I don't think we've got anything that hazardous on site.
I'd be worried if you did.
I did spend like 2 hours handling chicken poop the other day, so there was that.
That's a thing.
Yeah, that was awful.
Any particular reason?
It's just one of the things that we test.
Eh.
Whatever we're charging, it's not enough.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty miserable about the whole thing. Like this was a particularly bad week for me, not really feeling like I had any time to myself or any energy for that matter. So yeah, I downloaded Trails in the Sky second chapter. I have not even fired it up once, so there hasn't been the time to do so. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't even get time to play mobile games. So yeah, it was pretty dismal. I don't know. Maybe I'll find an excuse to take some more sick days if I have surgery on my left eye again, which is looking pretty likely. I'm going to see the ophthalmologist on Monday, and at that point we'll probably make the decision on what treatment is required to square up the focus on my left eye. And it will require some recovery time, and I'll still have a good eye, so playing video shouldn't be too difficult. So maybe I'll be able to catch up on some rest time. But yeah, being that I work a Tuesday to Saturday schedule and have Monday off, I miss a lot of public holidays. So I tend to wear down a bit because I'm not getting those sort of periodic long weekends. So
public holidays are a thing that happen to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, my customers don't care about public holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the toilets still need to flush on a public holiday, I guess.
If somebody needs a pump, they're still going to call, and we still got to sell it.
Yeah, but there has to be a solution to being grown up that makes it seem worthwhile. I don't know. But,
I don't know.
Having an embarrassing amount of money.
My operating assumption is that if you are fortunate enough to have a wife and children, then you're actually working hard to some purpose, and so it doesn't seem like a total waste of your existence. But since I'm not in that position as of yet, it just feels like I'm wasting my time, particularly at a job that is effectively strangling my career advancement.
Yeah, and your will to live.
Yeah, it's if I had a bar to fill, if I could grind a bar up, then I could get over it. But as far as I can tell, the bar capped out a long time ago. I'm at level cap, and there are no dailies to do. There is just killing the same mob over and over again, like I'm playing Black Desert.
Oh, dear.
So yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Got a performance review coming up.
That'll be fun.
It's going to be difficult because I don't know how to play it.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't, because the temptation is very real to just start firing with both barrels and not stop until the boss is a wreck. But that's probably not going to accomplish anything except getting me fired. So
yeah, one thing you don't tell in an interview like that in your situation is the truth.
Yeah, but there are people who did tell the truth though. Like one guy, one colleague of mine, like he had a rather contentious interview with the boss, and the boss at the end of the interview is like, "Well, we really do appreciate your contribution," and the guy just turns around and says, "No, you don't. It's not true. If you appreciated me, you'd pay me like you did."
Yeah.
and he just walked out.
Mic drop, walk out.
So yeah, it's and there hasn't been any fallout for him because our manager's a total milquetoast sort of character, who, as far as I can tell, the story, because I spent a lot of my idle time this week. When I say idle time, I don't mean that I wasn't working. I mean that I couldn't work because I was already working, but it didn't require my brain for whatever task.
Yeah.
My piecing together of the way our manager got his job seems to be that there were two laboratories that are part of the same group.
What is that called?
Sorry, that's my finger. There are two laboratories that were part of the same group. One of them was based in Auckland and in Christchurch, and that's the one that I was employed by originally. And the other one was based in Wellington with a number of small satellite labs. And since we're both part of the same broader international laboratory group, we shared a building with their satellite lab. And their satellite lab consisted of exactly two people. One guy who went and did sampling, and the guy who is now our manager. And he had managed to devise a situation where he was laboratory manager of a laboratory that had one employee who went out, got samples, brought them back, and then he would then subcontract those samples to our lab. And we would do the work, and he would get the report. So he was a lab manager with no laboratory, one employee, and the only thing he needed was a phone and a laptop to do his job.
It sounds like there wasn't a whole lot involved in that either.
And when our laboratory was absorbed into the Wellington one, the Wellington boss wanted our lab to be managed by someone who was one of his people. So our manager got the boot, and the guy who was running this lab, which specialized in him doing no work, was made our manager. So basically his skill set consists of not working, and he's now in charge. And that when I came to that realization, it seems to explain a lot. But yeah, so at the moment, I guess the way my week looks at present is that I'm going to cope with Setsubin as best I can in what little time I have. But second chapter of Trails in the Sky is the next thing on the docket to play, barring I'm tempted to get the PC game that's coming out for Azure Lane, simply because I'm sort of on that kick at the moment.
Yeah.
And which seems to be basically like a boat waifu naval sort of scale Muso type thing.
Okay.
But it's very, very hard to gauge what the gameplay is actually like. Like, I can't tell by looking.
Boat waifu Muso admittedly sounds pretty funny.
Maybe it doesn't play out like that. I can't really tell. It's very hard to say what it is. But since I'm really enjoying the franchise right now, I might take a punt at that. But I'm not actually sure when it comes out because it's not up for pre-order on Steam. It's still flagged as coming soon, even though in theory it comes out in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, Steam does that sometimes.
So I'm not really sure where that's at. But yeah, maybe. If I feel like I've got that sort of time on my hands, if I have to take time off to recover from surgery again, that would be a fine way to to while it away, I'm sure.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just a matter of just grinding it out until Waitangi Day, I guess. And I will probably work on Waitangi Day because time and a half is delicious.
Oh, it reminds me, it's Australia Day today, apparently.
Is it?
Yes, that's
Is
snuck
it-
up on us.
Is it going to be observed on a different day?
No,
So you don't relocate that? Because in New Zealand, traditionally, if a public holiday falls on a weekend, it will be relocated to the next Monday.
oh right, yeah. The actual holiday part of it is happening tomorrow or the Monday, but all the events and things are still happening today.
Is that where you like pay tribute to your emu overlords?
Well, depending on who you ask, for most sensible people, it's when you celebrate everything that's good about Australia and everything we've accomplished.
And if you live in
Which
Melbourne,
is-
you walk down the street whipping yourself.
Yes.
It's like the equivalent of Columbus Day.
Yeah,
Oh,
it pretty much is.
So if
so
you're
totally
white,
worthless.
you have to hate yourself,
Yes.
basically. And if you're if you live in one of the liberal enclaves, you've got to basically go into a funk of self-loathing for the entire day, or at least be seen to go into a funk of self-loathing for the entire day. It doesn't matter if you're actually self-loathing, so long as you can keep up appearances.
Yeah, you've actually
But,
got city councils that are way overstepping their responsibilities and trying to outlaw, well, not trying to outlaw necessarily, but more or less just ban Australia Day.
Since we didn't go to war with Britain and neither did Australia, our national days are sort of like a hybrid between Columbus Day and Independence Day.
Yeah.
So it's got the nation founding aspect, but also the alleged slaughtering of all the natives aspect.
Yes.
Yeah, it was MLK Day weekend last weekend. I still had to go to work on MLK Day.
It's not a real holiday.
It's
Is
a
it
federal
actually a public
holiday.
It's not a real holiday.
I'll tell you why. It made me mad that it was a federal holiday when we get to my week.
Oh dear.
I don't really understand MLK Day. Like, I mean, he's an important person in your history due to the amount of like speeches and crap he made. But I mean, did he actually do anything himself, like other than be the figurehead for the movement? Like, what I don't know much about what he did. Just that everybody brings up his name all the time in relation to civil rights.
He was just the voice of the peaceful civil rights movement. That was it.
That's all. He was just a mouthpiece.
Pretty much.
Because from my point of view, he's just a like garden variety heretic. So, like, he was a minister who denied the divinity of Christ. Like, as far as I'm concerned, that's doing it wrong. So I don't have a very high opinion of him, generally speaking.
That's not an aspect that usually comes out.
The thing is, I base everything around that. So, like, if you're a heretic, you're a bad person. That's the way that I look at things.
Yeah, no,
no.
He had some fun speeches. Sweep streets if you're a street sweeper, like Michelangelo painted pictures.
I don't
That's not
understand.
What's
What's he trying to say? I don't understand what his point is.
He was trying to say, do your best at your job, even if it's something as stupid as being a street sweeper.
Well, that should go without saying. I don't see why that. Why is that homespun wisdom?
You have a job
That's
now.
common
You know why
sense.
that needs saying.
No, well, I know that other people don't abide by it, but they don't abide by it because they don't want to. It's not a matter of thinking that they should that you know there's something wrong with them having to. It's that they just don't want to, and they know they can get away with it.
Oh dear. Anywho.
Yeah, this is a philosophy argument we probably shouldn't be having right now.
None of us have the energy to do what we want.
I'm just trying to ensure that we get demonetized.
Yes. Again.
Yeah, like I figure that if we get deeply enough demonetized, the integer will flip back round and we'll end up with lots of Google money.
This is why we're not monetized in the first place.
Anyway, I could say that was my week, but I didn't really do anything this week. I mainly just talked about whatever came to mind, involving, you know, critiquing MLK as a heretic, etc.
Okay.
So
Right.
now Ari, we are now reliant on Ari to raise the tone of the show.
Yeah.
So
please, please do not condemn any beloved historical figures.
So MLK having a birthday means the bank and the post office aren't open.
Oh yeah, that's fairly
Well,
standard.
banks and the post office never open.
I'm pretty sure
Well,
the
the banks
banks
and the
around
post
here,
office, they're open every weekday around here.
I've
And
never
this-
seen one open before.
They're always closed on whatever holiday's been declared, but it's usually posted on the door. And for like 2 months, they've had MLK Day is going to be the banks and the post office is going to be closed. I'm like, okay, I completely forget about it, even though I go in the post office and the bank literally every single day.
Oh,
So-
so
First thing I do every morning.
that's what banks and post offices are for. Like, because as far as I can tell, banks and post offices open an hour after everybody goes to work and close an hour before everybody comes home from work.
yeah, that's pretty standard. But in this case, it just sounds like this is your fault and you want to shift the blame.
No, you see, because they weren't open, I had to sit on like 3 packages I had to mail out and like 2 checks I had to deposit that were physical checks we got in the mail.
So sometimes the
couldn't
check
do
really is
anything.
in the mail?
Oh, the check's almost always in the mail.
'Cause
Like
nobody-
70% of our income is from physical checks.
Why?
I don't know
Handwritten.
anybody who has a checkbook.
Checks are completely obsolete.
Don't they go
understand-
bad in like 30 days or something?
Something.
I'm not sure, but we got a stack of checks underneath our desk. I have to handwrite checks with my god awful handwriting all the time.
Well, stop it and move into the 21st century.
Hey, the
I-
mafia.
Yeah, but
I'm still not convinced that's a real thing.
I'm not either. But I used it. If they'll give it to me, I'll take it. But yeah, so I was stuck with these physical checks that needed depositing, and all this mail that needed to go out, and these invoices that I needed to send out because we send physical invoices in the mail. I just got these people to reliably use Google Drive. Okay, we're not at automated payment service yet.
So when Google axes Google Drive, what are you going to do?
I will find a comparable application or set up an in-house network.
And
One
spend
of the
3
two.
years teaching them to use it.
It's
Just in
I
time
probably
for
would
something
have
new
had.
to come along.
Yeah, it's. I hate everything about the dinosaurs that I work with.
If you wrote a manual, would they read it?
No.
But they try and use it anyway and screw everything up?
Yes.
Right.
Drives me absolutely.
I'm just trying to get the lay of the land here for what you're dealing with.
Like we had a quote that we sent out one time to a customer. They called us asking for stuff, and we sent our quotes digitally. I finally got them to do that, and that took way too long. You know, push print and then select from the drop-down menu Adobe PDF from the Word document or whatever you're on was mind-blowing to them and just computer wizardry they didn't want to mess with.
What, you can email an invoice? What sorcery is this?
Yeah. So we had this one Word document of a quote we had on sitting on the shared drive that we were working on, and somebody went in there. It was probably the opossum, and made a revision of that quote by overwriting the old quote by just editing the open document.
No!
So I don't have the old quote for reference anymore.
Wait, run that by me again?
So we did an original quote for a customer. They called up and said, okay, yeah, that all looks good, but we need to change a few more things in the spec. Can you make some edits to the quote with these new parts we want instead of the old ones? Okay, yeah, sure. So somebody, the opossum probably got this phone call. And he goes in there and he edits the original quote instead of making a revision of instead of just making a new document, calling it revision 1, and then copy and pasting it over. So
Yeah.
he deletes the old quote
Oh, I
by
see.
overriding it.
Yeah.
I see.
A lot
So
of
you
software actually
just
allows you to make a revised version. Like, I know MYOB does. You can do a
Yeah.
revised invoice.
so what are you using? What software are you using for it?
Word, Microsoft
Wait.
Word.
So go into the settings and set it so that track changes is on by default, but the markup is hidden. So that he thinks that he's editing it, but if you go back in there, you can look and see what changes have been made.
That's a thought. I should try something like
yeah.
that.
You can also undo them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It'll mark up everything, all changes to formatting, all added text or deleted text. It will all still be logged in the changes tracking, and then you can just switch it on, and it'll bring back all the deleted stuff as red text, and it'll have call outs saying what was modified, when, and why, sort of thing.
Yeah. So this is relevant because the same customer called back later. Is like, oh, never mind. The engineer went back to the old design. Can we get you to send the quote from the original document again, or the original quote again?
And now he's got to go back and fix it.
And no, then I have to go make a brand new quote from scratch.
Yeah, it sounds more like it.
Actually, no, that isn't what I did at all. What I did was I waited for the opossum to leave because he was the one that sent this email. Dug through his email box when he wasn't in the office on his computer, and then pulled out by just digging around in his sent box until I found it, months and months in the back, and pulled that out and sent it to myself, and then emailed that to the customer.
Okay, good.
So this is the tier of dinosaur I'm working with here.
Apparently,
well, I mean, one thing that he might be a dinosaur. The other issue is that he may just be high.
You don't want to know what happens when you get your T-Rexes high, man.
No, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, your business starts leaking.
Yes. Like, I don't know, where exactly is America on terms of the financial technologies? Like, you always seem to be 15 years behind us.
It is... Americans have a very odd attachment to dead tree stuff. Checks, paper bills. It still exists.
There's reasons why that's a good idea in some cases, but I feel like Americans tend to be conservative about some very strange things at times.
Yeah,
and wanting to use adding machines is one of them.
Like
yeah,
the idea of
got that thing
a
on my
paper
desk.
check is nonsense.
Oh, you know that adding machine on my desk and the paper checks?
That is also nonsense.
Yeah. I have to attach the adding machine receipt to the paper check when I mail it.
Why?
Because that's the state law.
Or you could just do the whole thing electronically and transfer your funds electronically, and it's all recorded for you.
Yeah, but the dinosaurs don't have to write the checks, so they don't care.
Can't you feed checks into a printer or something? I don't know how it works.
And we do have QuickBooks that can do that, but it's not worth the effort to go wait for QuickBooks to load, go into the expenses section, write up a check, print it, and instead I can just reach below my desk, rip out a check, and then just scribble it.
Or you could, at end of day on QuickBooks, you can say process outstanding transactions, and it would do it all electronically.
Yeah, but that would also require me to link the bank account to our QuickBooks account, which for some reason the opossum is adamant I don't do.
I think the last thing you need is for the opossum to be able to go into the software and meddle with the bank account.
Yeah, actually, that's probably a good safety mechanism.
Yeah, that ain't happening. This is Mr. I can't do basic math, so I need you to open up a second bank account so that I can separate how much money we got divvied up. Basically, he wanted me to budget by opening a new bank account for every section of the budget.
But you don't... No! You've got QuickBooks!
No. Yes.
QuickBooks does that!
Yes!
Honestly, I don't know how you do it.
I don't either. I just kind of come home at the end of the day and just purge everything that wasn't relevant to me doing my job better from my brain. Because if I don't, I'll lose my mind.
I'm surprised you haven't just started putting sleeping pills in his morning coffee.
Honestly,
if he's asleep, then he can't cause any trouble.
I'd take out a newspaper subscription just so I have a fresh newspaper every day to whop him on the nose with.
No, bad opossum. Go play Red Dead and smoke weed. Let me work. You go play Red Dead and smoke weed, opossum.
Yeah, I guess the only thing worse than a boss that does nothing, like mine, is a boss that does strange and incoherent things like yours.
Yeah.
Yes. So, why do we have the worst luck with our jobs when it comes to the people that are standing over us?
We made bad life decisions.
We did.
I'm in a family business at the moment, so it's not a problem.
I mean, I'm in a family business too.
Yes, but your family is
That is true.
yeah. So
They're Artie's family. It has the opossum in it, and that's
Yeah.
all you need to know. It only goes downhill from there, if it gives you any clue.
Oh dear.
So it's been an adventure. This week in particular, I was stuck at work, and normally I go home about, if it's a really, really slow day, like just literally nothing's happening and somebody else is able to watch the phones, I can get lucky and go home as early as 2 o'clock about once or twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
That was not one of those weeks.
Yep.
Usually I wind up going home about 3:30, 4 o'clock. And so I got there, and it's 4:30, and it's definitely time to start, where I would start packing up and getting ready to head out, because we don't have set clocks at our work. You just work until you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it's just easier for me to finish work at the house, which is why I pack up before 5 most days, because I just don't want to sit in that office. I'm going to go insane and strangle somebody. So I pack up and leave early normally, but nobody was around to watch the phones this week. Like, nobody. At all. So I was stuck on phone duty all week long.
Yeah.
And to make it worse, we were waiting on a call from a customer that they're like, oh, he's going to call this week sometime a little bit after 5 o'clock. This call never came, by the way. And
Because they never
so
do.
I was chilling there until 7 o'clock every single day, just sitting in my chair doing nothing. Work's done, finished, 2.5 hours ago, but I still got to sit here and stare at the telephone. So I turned on Shield Hero.
Yay.
So I have been genuinely surprised how well Shield Hero holds up on a rewatch this soon after I watched the original run of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good show.
It's a
I
very
really
good
want to
show.
see more. I want to see more Shieldy Boy.
I need to actually go back and watch the ending bits of that anime. I read the manga, and it does get and continues to be really good.
Yeah, I read as far as I was able at the time, and it was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it just gets crazier.
Yeah, I read up to the appearance of a turtle.
Yeah.
So that's where we were at when I stopped reading the manga.
Yeah.
So the turtle had just showed up.
Honestly,
Tried to read the light novels for that series. Don't do that.
Don't do that. But the anime's adaptation has been really good and fairly loyal to the source material, or at least to the manga. Although I am interested to see what they do with Queen Chocobo.
Yeah, I've been watching this one dubbed because I watched the sub last time.
Yep.
And I've been genuinely impressed with everybody and their work in the show.
Yeah.
Everybody's been pretty good in the dub. It's not like super A+ tier, but it's definitely pretty good. Solid B+, A-. So I really enjoyed the whole rewatch of that. And I had this on just on my other monitor while I was doing stuff at the very tail end of the day at work and marathon the thing over the course of 5 days. Well, actually 3 days. But but yeah, so that was a good rewatch.
Still good.
The other thing I did that's actually relevant to what we normally talk about in weeks, I played some Vidya. It's a continuation from last week. I played some more Fire Emblem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not getting sold on Three Houses. It's
But the waifus.
It's better than Fates, but that ain't hard to do.
Is there only one version of the game?
Yes.
Yeah.
You only got to buy the game once. So that's already, 3 steps in the right direction.
Yeah, they got a bit... I don't know what you'd call it, what they did with Fates. Greedy, maybe.
They hacked everybody off with Fates.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
They managed to tick off literally everybody. Nobody likes Fates. Nobody. At all. The people that... Unless they're like total Nintendo shills, nobody that is just a Fire Emblem fan is going to say that Fates was a good video game.
No, it was not.
It was awful. Terrible. In every way, shape, and form. Three Houses has a different problem and that, yeah, it gives you a lot of content and stuff to do, and they make you only have to pay for it once. But it's... I don't want to use the word pacing, because that implies that there's a continuous story that has dips in it that isn't being told at the right speed.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a problem with the waifu elements of the game.
There always are.
And that, in particular, this game, the Fire Emblem franchise is built around political intrigue and drama and relations between nations, stuff like that.
Mm.
This does not work if you interrupt this drama with waifu time.
No.
Like, this is not Persona. This is not, Dupalupo. We are not playing a character-focused game. The characters are important, but they are not, the driving force of the story here. The main plot is supposed to be what's keeping your attention, but whenever it starts to get any momentum at all, hang on, gotta take a 2-hour break to go run around the monastery and talk to everybody and go fishing for 20 minutes to go fish the right fish that somebody wants for a side quest.
I mean, it's not, at least I hope it's not, what, I believe it was Fates that did it, where you sit down and you spend 5 minutes stroking your waifu.
Wait,
what? You can have tea time with them, and you can look at them now.
Yeah, that's a bit less creepy.
And the petting minigame in Fates being censored was actually a huge problem.
Because it broke the game.
Well, no, it was a problem or Maniac mode, or whatever the hardest difficulty was. You had to min-max to beat that mode in Fates, and normal mode was just a total snore fest. Like, you're gonna sleep your way through the game. And I played Conquest, so I got the hard version of the game by just the type of game I got. Conquest is just by nature much harder. So you need to min-max, and that stupid affection system granted benefits to the characters that they needed to not get one-shot.
Yeah.
And if you got permadeath on, a character gets one-shot, you may be screwed for the entire run of the game and have to restart the whole game.
Yeah.
So, because they nerfed this crap, it takes way longer to get their affection up, so that they don't get the stat bonuses or the chance on hit to trigger special effect bonuses.
Oh dear.
You get them eventually, but you build them way slower than you do in the Japanese version. And the stupid little cosmetic outfits that you could give them in Fates, those gave stats, and they didn't take an item slot, and they were necessary for beating hard mode.
Then they're not cosmetic.
Yeah, no. So getting rid of the stupid bath towels actually became a huge problem.
Oh, right. That was a thing, too. I'd forgotten about the bath towels.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd actually go and just have an entire army in bath towels. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, but you will do weird crap like that in Fates to min-max if you're playing on Hard Classic. Or Mayhem Classic, whatever the heck they call the hardest difficulty nowadays. Used to only be one difficulty. There was regular mode and Hector mode in the original game. And Hector mode was you replayed the whole game from Hector's perspective, and the game was just way harder. On top of an already fairly challenging game for your first Fire Emblem.
But yeah, the stroking minigame, I'm glad they got rid of. Like, it works in Pokemon, because Pokemon are cute, fuzzy creatures, mostly. Not when it's people you're patting and stroking.
The most obnoxious thing in the world is its replacement mechanic, and I hate it even more than the petting minigame.
Ugh.
And the reason I hate it is because every time you progress through a calendar, a 12-month calendar with fictional month names that's otherwise a standard, real-world calendar with 365 days, and you play through entire weeks at a time. And throughout the year, characters will have birthdays. And if you want to max their support rank and see their special character cutscenes, you have to have tea time with them.
Tea? Gonna have high tea!
Everybody is very British.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can just get them flowers and get a small stat or support rank up if you want, or you can get them nothing if they're already maxed or something. But you get like 10 times more progress towards their next big story cutscene and unlocking their side missions if you do tea time with them.
I mean, at least it's not pervy anymore.
Well, here's how tea time works, because it's really dumb.
Did they make it pervy?
No, well, kind of, but not really. No, it's just annoying.
Okay.
So you load up tea time, and it'll be some person you don't care about, and you won't have a clue what the heck their personality is because they're in another house or whatever, and you haven't paid attention to them at all because they're born flat as a rock most of the time. And then you get to tea time, and the character does a pre-canned set of animations with no dialogue, and then it says "pick your tea," and and you will have to have from the farm or from the garden grown tea to use, or bought it from the vendors, and you better hope you got the right tea they like, or you're losing a lot of points, which means reloading your save file.
And they're all tea connoisseurs, every single person.
They're all very
Every single
snobby about
person.
tea.
There's like 20, 30 different kinds of tea, and each one likes 2 or 3, and you got to pick one they like to get the bonus points. So first you got to pick the tea they like. And then 3 little orbs appear on the screen, and you can only pick one at a time. And you have to do all 3 to progress. And you click one. The character says nothing, does nothing. There's no character animations even. They just stare at you awkwardly. And 3 conversation topics pop on the screen from a absolutely massive bucket of potential ones they could be.
Oh dear.
And you have to pick the one that character wants to talk about the most.
Like,
These will include things like, I just pulled up a random characters. A dinner invitation, dreamy nights, fashion. I'm counting on you, monastery security, plans for the future, our first meeting, potential training partners, relaxing at the sauna. And there's no joke about 800 of these things that can pop up.
So how do you know what ones you're supposed to
You
say?
go on the internet and you look up a guide and you get Control F ready as soon as you click that thing because you only got 15 seconds to Control F your way through the entire list.
Yay. So,
Who thinks this crap is a good idea? Why do people think this sort of thing is a good idea?
like, it could have been a cool mechanic. Like, you sit down, have tea with a character, and get a bit more backstory or something like that, and then you're done. But no.
But no, there is no interaction with the partner at all. They go, "Oh, nice. Oh, okay,"
And they sit
and
there
do
stare
a
at you
pre-canned nod
goggle-eyed.
animate. Yeah, and they do a pre-canned nod animation that looks really janky on some of the models, and just go back to staring at you again until you do.
This reminds me of the Sword Art Online video game where when you try and build affection with the various waifus in the cast, and they will when you're nearby, you can talk to them and they will say a bunch of stuff, and you're supposed to either give an affirmative or a dismissive sort of reaction, and they all have a pattern of types of comments that they like to be affirmed on and ones that you should dismiss. And it's just totally arbitrary, and basically you just make noises at each other. Yeah, exactly like that.
So, from what it sounds like, Nintendo is okay. It's not as pervy as the padding minigame.
Oh, we're
but
getting
somehow
there. We're not
it's
done.
just as creepy.
We're getting there. After you do the 3 topic conversations, they have a single voice line of dialogue that is 1 sentence long. That's like, I am not really a fan of hymns. I don't want to offer silly songs to the goddess. And then you have a emote that you're supposed to select, and you have to select the right one to end it. And you don't get to see your character do the emote because all these are in first person. So you have like commend, sigh, chat, blush, praise, sip tea, disagree, laugh, chat.
This sounds like they're expecting Byleth to emote, but because Byleth doesn't actually emote throughout the rest of the game.
Well, she's a mute.
Yeah, you got your mute.
Is she actually a
formless
mute
protagonist?
or just a silent protagonist?
She's a silent protagonist, but
Okay.
she talks with her hands. You select dialogue choices, and she waves at the people and.
So she's Italian.
Yeah, pretty much. And then after you select that, if you pick the right one, if you got all the topics of conversation right, and you picked a tea they like, it goes perfect tea time in big fireworks behind it with big fanfare of music behind it.
Wow.
And then
I don't know why I find that so funny.
I don't know either.
And then it goes, okay, would you like to give your guest a gift? or would you like to admire them?
Wait, what?
And
Admire.
admire them means you zoom the camera in really uncomfortably close to the character model and can pan it around, and if you leave it hanging around certain spots of their character model, they will comment on what you're looking at.
Certain spots.
Certain spots, eh?
Yes. And yes, all the girls have a comment for you staring at their boobs.
There it is. So yeah, it is equally, if not more so, creepy than the petting minigame then.
The petting minigame was just a video game, like get the heart meter to raise. This is just weird and totally pace breaking because you'll be going through a serious story drama moment. It's Dorothea's birthday today. Would you like to send her flowers or have tea time?
Obviously, this is the time for that.
Yeah, like, no, we're not, about to be invaded by the enemy nation right next to us. No, let's go have tea.
Yeah, it's not like there's an army right there.
It reminds me of Asterix in Britain. Are either of you familiar with the story?
Oh, it's been so long.
The story starts off with Julius Caesar's conquest of Britain, and so he arrives in Britain, and the legionnaires roll out, and the local British clans show up to oppose them, and then at 5 o'clock everybody stops for tea, and the legionnaires are just like, "Where are you going?" And they said, "It's tea time." And then when on Friday evening, they all start to disappear, and then they don't come back, and the legionnaires go looking for them. It's like, well, where have you been? We're supposed to be having a war here. And they're like, "Oh, chaps, we're off for the weekend.
We're off to play cricket or something."
Yeah, they're literally playing cricket in one of the scene. But so there's like you need to put the war on hold because tea time is more important.
Yeah. As incompetent as the Romans are in that universe, the British are just so much worse. Admittedly, it is written by French people, so yeah.
Yeah, well, they have to make the French the heroes.
Yeah.
Oh dear, but yeah, that's been my experience with Fire Emblem so far, and I have not made very much progress. I made it to the time skip, but I haven't got much farther past that.
Because you're always spending all your time looking at what types of tea you need to bring to the
I'm not kidding. There's all kinds of crap you need a guide for. There's a little confession box that has 3 answers to get relationship values up with people. That they'll go to the church and they'll drop questions in the confession box about something that's on their mind, and you can go pull stuff out of the box as their professor and read it and write a pre-canned response on the back, and you get points with them if you get the right answer. You have 20 seconds to do it, so had to go look up a guide for that, and every time there's stuff in the box, I gotta pull up that guide and get ready to Control F before the 20 seconds is up.
Is that 20 seconds before the priest comes back and kicks your ass for messing with the confessional?
No, he's the one handing them to you.
Oh, jeez.
So he's just lazy, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you can go do it. You take care of your own students' problems. I'm busy."
I don't want to do it.
Never mind, the high priest just literally wrecked my church. The high priestess, the figurehead of our religion, just showed up and wrecked the church. I'm still going to keep to my religion. Okay, buddy. If you say so.
You gotta love those flimsy holes in the writing.
Yeah. So, there's a whole lot of stuff that doesn't make sense on the Black Eagles, because you are playing the bad guys, which is the path I picked. Yeah. I didn't know this going into it, but you are the bad guys. Like, this is your fault. So yeah, probably could have looked at the advisor and how he looks and just been like, yeah, these guys are definitely the bad guys.
Does
of this
he
story.
have a mustache?
No, but he's the advisor. Each house has their house leader, and then the house leader has an advisor, and they're the only students of that house that cannot be recruited to whatever house you're playing. And I'll link it in live show chat. This is what the advisor to the Black Eagles looks like. That should have been a tip-off, but it just kind of went right over my head.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's a big red flag, his appearance.
Have you seen the Mitchell and Webb skit where there's the 2 Nazi officers sitting down in the trenches, and one of them just sort of like says, after thinking for a moment, "Are we the baddies?"
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just, it has a competent story in there. it's just bogged down by a ton of garbage
Yeah.
that just gets in the way. And the worst, this happens. Why does this always happen to me in video games? There's fishing.
Why?
Fishing!
Gotta have a fishing
It's
minigame.
your favourite thing. You spend so much time on it.
I have spent more hours digitally fishing than I have been on a boat in real life. And I used to live I still do, live relatively close to a lake. My family used to own a boat. But, so, to do junk in the game, you need something called Professor Rank. And the higher your Professor Rank, the more activity points you get per session that you're doing free battles. You can only do as many as you have activity points for. You can only boost character stats during instruction time by as many activity points as you have, etc. So everything in the game consumes time or is only usable once per free time, except for fishing. As long as you got the bait, you can fish forever. So what this amounts to is as soon as a fishing up event happens on the calendar of some kind, where you can catch a lot of fish with one bait or something, you just wind up sitting there fishing for I was there for at least 5 hours.
Estelle was involved in development, clearly.
Yeah, Estelle would have been proud. And yeah, the fishing minigame is a little circle, starts off big and shrinks smaller, and you gotta press it at the right time when it overlaps with a little purple area on its way down. And the timing is broken for it, and you just kind of have to learn which speed it's going at and where you need to hit it, because it's not going to be in the little purple ring. Part of the little ring is going to stick out of the little purple ring they've drawn as the target area, and you'll get an excellent for that. But if you hit the ring perfectly on some fish, it just says no.
Ah. Well, that's stupid.
So the fishing minigame is busted, and you have to grind it. All the way to A+ rank. Which takes a lot of fish. So, I did that. And I've been playing on Hard Classic, which was the hardest available difficulty at launch. They've since added Maniac, because hard is not very hard. Hard is actually quite easy in this game. I have had the occasional unit die to a stray crit that is quickly undone by rewinding 2 turns, and then just doing something different or sticking somebody else in that spot, because you can do that now. So there has not been any real sense of urgency, but because it's a Fire Emblem game, and you need to play Fire Emblem games on Classic, you really do, part of the attachment you grow to your units is the fact that you need to take care of them personally while they're on the field, because if they die, they're gone for goodsies.
Mm-hmm.
So I refuse to play on casual mode. And it's just like, the game is just way too easy. Characters get absolutely busted. And some of the items you start getting in the mid-game, like, nullify all weaknesses that this particular unit has. Like, flyers die in one hit to bows. If a bow user is approximately of the same level ballpark as the Pegasus Rider you're sending in that area, and that archer shoots your Pegasus Rider, that Pegasus Rider's dead. Period. But you can just get an item that says, ignore all disadvantages, ignores unit advantage flying, stick that on your Pegasus Rider, and they can take bow shots like a champ.
That sounds a bit
video
OP.
game.
It does.
Just a little bit.
Just
It's
a
kind
bit.
of the big drawback to the flying units is that they can go literally wherever they want on the map, have no penalties for the terrain, and usually have either high avoid or high armor, depending on what type they are. But if a single archer gets in the vicinity of them, they're dead. So you had to be careful where you sent them. Doesn't matter with this item. You just send them to go solo the map.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm missing the old days of Fire Emblem. Like, my first experience with Fire Emblem was Path of Radiance, where it was basically battle, story, battle, story, battle,
Well,
story. Done.
That's how it was until the end of the GameCube era. Awakening changed all that.
Yeah.
And Awakening still kept on track for the most part. But Fates and Three Houses have just completely lost the plot on this. Quite literally.
Yeah.
You're wandering around the monastery or your camp forever doing menial garbage instead of the story that you're supposed to be engaged in.
Well, Fates is what? There's battle, then there's story, then there's time shenanigans, then there's tickle your waifu.
Yeah, well, it's
Well-
about selling waifu merch, isn't it? Isn't that the point?
Yep.
Yeah, they figured out the waifu crowd and is just a hotter market than the people that like good political dramas set in medieval-ish fantasy times.
Yes.
I mean, I played the original Fire Emblem because I said, "Oh, this has the characters from Smash Bros."
A lot of people did that.
And that's how I got into Fire Emblem.
That's so cringy.
Yeah, but it's a very, very common story.
It's still cringy.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, me and my friends played Smash all the time, and we've got Smash Melee. It's like, oh, this has a guy that kind of looks like Roy on it. It says Fire Emblem. I remember that from Smash Brothers. I should try this out.
Yeah. I'm probably about the only person who actually said, when Ike came in, oh, I remember him from Fire Emblem, not the other way around.
Yeah, by then I would have, but I came late to Brawl.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, the original Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance, which is Blazing Blade in the series names, and is Fire Emblem 7. That's the one I started with, and the only reason I started right when it came out was because I saw it, and I'm like, I remember that from Super Smash Brothers. I was still fairly young-ish when that game came out. I think I can't remember when Blazing Blade came out in the US.
Yeah. I can't either.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm looking at the release date just to make myself feel hopefully not as old as I want to. I was 14.
Okay. Oh dear. And by the way, on the stream, here is that slow motion Great Gyros fight. Anyway.
Oh dear.
We are about due for a break.
We are. So I stretched it about as long as I can stretch, guys. So that's the weeks, I think. I'll talk more about Fire Emblem. I'll chug my way through this story route. I don't think I'll be going to see the other ones. Just because I don't want to deal with the menial bullcrap in between story chapters.
But
you
how
might be able to get.
Will you meet all the waifus in this route?
I've already picked my 2 waifus. I can't decide which one I want to waifu. I will post my picks in
Do they
the
have
live show chat.
Do they have another weird generational mechanic?
No, there's no children this time, thankfully. Although I thought that was actually a really cool system in Awakening.
But it's still weird.
It's still kind of creepy
weird.
too.
It's weird as crap, but you can pair kids, have people pair up together, and they will produce a child, and the child will come through a time slip from the future to come help their parents.
So Fire Emblem eugenics.
Yeah.
Like, it's just very strange. So I need to breed these people like Pokemon to get the better Pokemon out.
In some cases, it was, I'll breed these 2 people, and then time slip opens, and all you can say is, what the hell is that?
Well, I didn't realize their stats matched together until for my first 2 pairings. I'm like, oh, we need to be smarter about this. So I completely redid my shipping chart as soon as I realized that's what was going on, because I was playing that one guideless. So I'm like, oh, that's what they're doing. Okay, we need to replan this. I'm about to break up some people. Some people are gonna be heartbroken.
No, they won't.
All in the name of eugenics.
Pretty much. Well, that's what time slips will do to you.
Yeah, don't.
I think
please.
we need to tell all of the Fire Emblem super fans that they advocate for Nazi policies.
Oh, they'll lose
don't go down that road.
I am a casual fan of Fire Emblem and will never ever call myself part of the Fire Emblem fandom.
Because they're all crazy.
In general, that's the golden rule for video game fandoms overall these days.
Well, there are some fan communities that are nice.
Yeah.
That are technically part of the fandom. The Dupa Lupa Reddit has usually been pretty good. But there are some fandoms that are just so nasty, like the Smash Bros. And the Fire Emblem fandom. I'm just like, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Not doing that.
Just no.
I don't care if there's one outlet that is sane somewhere in that mess. I'm not digging through the trash to find it.
Don't you usually find those fans at the Taco Bell behind the wheel of a car?
Yeah, trying to murder somebody else also in the group.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
This is a true story, folks. You can Google it. We talked about it on the show when it was real.
Yep, we did.
So, Yeah, I think that's about as far as I'm willing to stretch Fire Emblem. I'll tell y'all the rest and the conclusion and final thoughts on it after I finish it, which will probably be this week. Depending on how this week goes, we will see.
Alrighty. So let
All
us
right.
take a bit of a break.
All right, we're going to go to a break, and we will be right back after some Muzak. And we're back.
Mostly.
Well, most of us are. So, to fill time while Vol gets back from the restroom because he was stuck killing a monster in Monster Hunter and couldn't abandon it because there's no pause button in that game, we can fill time with this incredibly riveting discussion of which waifu is better in the live show chat.
No. I mean...
See, this is a hard choice, people. You don't understand. There is one character whose story is pretty good, has decent character, has a fun personality, and then there's boobies.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really lower the tone of the show any lower, so...
Oh, great. I missed all the calves, too. Fabulous.
Oh, well, yeah, that happened, too.
But yeah, we're back live, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
So, it's okay. You did the event.
I hate Barrioth so much.
Barrioth is an enormous jerk.
Yes. So, moving on from boobies, we have an email.
Right, who wants it? Where did I put it?
I gotta reopen the dedicated browser.
You're not very good at this.
Yeah. We had all this time. You'd think I would have made a note and been like, probably should open that up and get it ready to go.
Yeah,
but
you should have.
Nope. Bad at my job.
Oh boy. Dear. Professionalism, folks.
So, okay, we got it. So before we read the email, Serathus, in future, do not start an email subject line with the proper title of some piece of media.
Yeah.
With proper capitalization. Don't do that, because Google's filter is way too sensitive. You were asking us where the heck it went last week. I was pretty sure I checked the email box, but I was just kind of like, oh, I guess I didn't.
I did. No, Google ate it.
I was like, oh, I guess Fern said we don't have any emails, so I just didn't check it.
No,
but no, it happened.
Yeah, knowing that you definitely sent it, I dug deeper, and I actually found it lumped in with all the pointless promotional crap that nobody ever reads.
Yeah, so Google or Gmail has a category called promotions that it will auto-file things with proper names of products into. And your email...
probably not spam, but you don't necessarily want cluttering up your email box anyway.
So it got filed in there. So that's where your email... It was right alongside PlayAsia, Squarespace, Twitch, Dropbox, and more PlayAsia.
In other words, spam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Requested spam because someone signed up for it.
Well, you say requested, but what you actually mean is made an account anywhere.
Yeah, that's the same thing, really, to some of these companies.
Yeah. So
anyway.
We have an email.
Which is, a couple of weeks old. Sorry, Zerathus.
So yeah, it got lost in the promotions thingy. But we found it. I guess I haven't read an email in a while, so I can chew through this one.
Go for it.
All right, it's from Serathus, and it says, Dear Sewer Divers, as the holiday and holiday sales passed, I ended up buying a bunch of video games, refunding most of them. Because impulse buying is a thing, and that 80% off is just way too enticing.
Yeah, it is.
But then it turns out that indie 8-bit pixel graphics, then it turns out that indie equals 8-bit pixel graphics, and I'm already on it. Your equal sign threw me off.
I can't words.
Yeah. Like with Environmental Station Alpha, the most basic I've played in ages. Not bad, but after Hollow Knight, consequences will never be the same again. Refunded. Agreed.
Yep.
Notia is also pixely, because of course it was. Best described as a roguelike side-scrolling Magicka, where you drown, acidize, or set anything on fire. Is that a word?
It should be.
No, it's not. It's not even slightly a word.
But it totally should be a word.
And there are a lot of flammable materials in the early levels, but the game failed to grab me, so I refunded.
Yeah.
Like Jedi's Die Twice, I swear Fallen Order might win an award for least original game. It's not bad, but I could predict everything in the prologue. I facepalmed so hard. Oh look, my bestest buddy, who is, in gameplay terms, I know for 5 minutes, gets murderized by the evil, mean, bad Nazi empire. Just because complete with hopeless boss fight at the end. The only reason I didn't refund because I ran out of the 2-hour period.
Yeah.
Unlike a short, yeah. Unlike
on.
a short hike, yeah, I'll just go through the whole email and then we can talk about it. Unlike a short hike, that's a proper title. Okay. Unlike A Short Hike, which is a game about taking a short hike up a mountain to get cell phone reception, or a rather long hike because there are a lot of side quests and other walking, talking animals. A lot of side quests the other walking, talking animals give you. I didn't refund it because despite finishing in under 2 hours, it was fun. It was a fun, feel-good game. Also bought a bunch of stuff during the sale, like Trine 4 and Shadowbringers. But since the next WoW patch is coming in 2 days and Monster Hunter Save Game Delete Edition is out now, I didn't have time to play them. All right. MHW, Iceproof Mantle deletes save on PC. Let's just say if that happened to my 100-hour save file, I would have been just a tiny bit ticked off. I might be getting back to it in between getting bored of going mad from Inzoth and waiting on Doom Eternal. Okay. More stuff about Doom mods in next week's email. Serathus.
Thank you, Serathus.
Ugh.
You're
This is
bad
why
at
I don't read
emails.
You kind of butchered that one, yeah.
And for
Yeah,
some reason, you felt the need to smack your lips at the end of literally every sentence.
You did.
It was
Yeah, my
really
mouth's been
strange.
It's been really dry tonight. I'm not sure why.
That's a nice change. Like, around here at the moment, we're raining and we're dealing with 80% humidity.
Yeah, it's freezing cold here, so it's really dry.
Moist.
Yep.
All right.
So, let's tackle this bit by bit. Refunding Vidya games because you impulse buy them at 80%. I actually don't agree with this practice at all, but I understand it.
Yeah, like if you buy a game and it's just not good, you can request a refund, and that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell anybody they should not do this. I just don't like doing it. It just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah. So, Environmental Station Alpha. I've looked at this game, and I took one look at the graphics and just went, no. Because your character is maybe 6 pixels high.
Yeah, a lot of these really low quality exploration platformer type games are just they aren't very appealing. There are very few that have managed to stick the pixel art thing and either overcome it as a limitation or make it work somehow in its favor.
Yeah.
Like there's Rabby Ribby, which manages to overcome its pixel graphics, although I think that was mostly just due to that team had literally no money.
Like anyone can do pixel graphics, but it takes a lot to be able to do pixel graphics well.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm not going to play any game in the same ballpark of a genre as Hollow Knight with terrible graphics.
Yeah. As far as Environment Station Alpha, it looks pretty generic. Like, there's just nothing about the game I can see that really stands out as being particularly interesting.
Yeah, it's mostly just the visual design that made me go, nah, not even touching that.
Yeah, but no, you dig into it a little bit further, and even the descriptions and things just kind of,
Like, there are plenty of good, just super basic exploration platformer type games like Shadow Complex or Strider that follow the formula almost to a T.
Yep.
But are just fine and a good way to kill a couple days or an afternoon. But so it really is just not a formula you want to mess with too much.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you are going to mess with it, you got to really know what you're doing.
Yeah, the only significant evolution of the formula that's been successful is taking that formula and turning it into 3D with the Collectathon and taking the hardcore route and making the Dark Souls types.
Well, Metroid Prime, really.
Well, I wouldn't even call Metroid Prime really the same type of thing because the different type of exploring and collecting in that one.
Yeah, that's true.
You already know the paths that you're going to use the new upgrades on in Metroid Prime, so I don't really count it as part of that Metroidvania exploration platformer type dealio.
Even though it is a Metroid game.
Yeah, even though it's a Metroid game and it does have backtracking, those aren't the only elements of these games.
Oh, look, another useless subgenre title.
Yeah, it's the only reason people would default to saying Metroid Prime is because Metroid's in the title of this useless subgenre title.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next game, Noita. Noita,
Don't know this game.
I've seen it pop up occasionally, but I haven't really looked at it too closely. Let me jog my memory. Doopy doopy doo. Oh yeah, same basic deal. Except yeah, you've got your modular magic system to go with it, which is pretty cool, admittedly.
You mean the system that is designed to make the game a chaotic mess and hope that turns into fun
Yes.
every time it's implemented at all?
It did for Magicka.
I still haven't finished Magicka.
You're not supposed to finish Magicka.
Yeah, you're supposed to kill all your friends and then never make any progress.
Yes, and
Next
then die.
Rankathon, we should try to finish Magicka.
We're gonna end up just fireballing each other and calling it good. That's what happens all the time.
That should be on the docket.
Yeah, I really want to find out whether or not Vlad is a vampire.
I know, right? So yeah, like Noita has some kind of neat mechanics and everything behind it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just very overseeing these pixely Metroidvania type dealies.
Well,
Yeah,
I guess it's just a case of everybody's assuming that, oh well, we'll get some sales if we do this because there are people that just buy them all,
Yeah, there are. All right,
and you don't need to hire an artist.
Yeah, I mean,
because most people aren't really very discerning about their pixel art.
yeah, it's just.
if your art sucks, it's supposed to suck.
I mean, it's one of my favorite genres, but you still can't have just eye-bleeding pixel art where I can't tell what the heck's going on if you want me to play your video game.
Yeah.
Blasphemous is about the line I draw at pixel art. So, let's see, I lost the email again. Next was... yeah, okay, so... Jedi's died twice, so Fallen Order.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spoke about this a fair bit last week, but I will say, yeah, not a whole lot original about it, but it's at least done well.
Well, the thing is that given who was making it, the odds of it being a lot worse than it was were pretty high.
What was that?
Yeah.
I think that they're trading a lot on people's relief that it wasn't bad, not the fact that it was good, which is not really a good place for the market to be in, but people are taking what they can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, you don't tend not to go to Star Wars for big shocks. Which is why when the occasional time that Star Wars has dished out a big shock, being, you know, Knights of the Old Republic and original trilogy, being the Vader reveal, that makes it hit all the harder.
Yeah,
because it is supposed to be a classical space fantasy.
Yeah.
It's not actually supposed to have lots of dramatically revolutionary beats or anything like that.
Yeah,
and with the rut the franchise has just been in recently, having a game that can, even though there are a lot of problems with the video game, like I got a laundry list of them, being able to just land on that first swamp planet and walk around and go like, yeah, this is Star Wars. This is Star Wars. It's Star Wars music.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm not some OP Mary Sue Jedi. I'm just a dude.
Star Wars.
Yeah, just a dude learning how to use his lightsaber again.
Yeah. And because of where it is in the canon, you already know how the game's going to end.
Yeah, there's no other way it can end.
No. But even so, it's still enjoyable, and it's EA making an enjoyable experience.
But they made the only asterisk on that. Yeah, the only asterisk on that is it's only enjoyable because we have not had anything to fill for a long time now.
No, nothing good Star Wars and nothing good EA. Like, what have they released lately? Just FIFA and Madden and. But
there was a while where they were just constantly releasing good Star Wars games. Like there was Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, and there was Rogue Squadron, and there's X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and there was KOTOR, and there was Jedi Outcasts and Jedi Academy.
Jedi Starfighter and Original Starfighter. Yeah, there were a lot of good games around then. But then...
What happened?
Like, there's been a fair share of bad Star Wars games as well. But... yeah.
Oh, man. I'm having some serious cringe flashbacks to me playing Jedi Academy online on Xbox Live.
Should I actually state the name of the cursed Star Wars game?
Which one's that one?
Super Bombad Racing.
Oh, that one.
I forgot that existed.
That's probably for the best. It failed on every element that it tried to do. Like, the character
Yeah.
models were hideous, the gameplay mechanics were terrible. Even by the low standards of gameplay mechanics for a kart racing game, it still failed.
I used to play Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds on the internet.
I do like Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. You get to kill Gungans. What's not to like?
They had a lot of special map settings, maps like, you know, the way, for instance, that Dota got its start, right? They had a lot of those. And there was one I used to play fairly regularly called Senate, and nobody seemed to really know how the map worked, so you would just sit around and argue about how you were supposed to do things.
That sounds
Oh.
like they did it exactly.
And I'm pretty sure that in a meta sense we were playing correctly.
Yeah, that sounds
And-
about right.
And Senate, like Senate, like the House of the government in the U.S.
Yes,
or
yes.
okay, not Senate, like the Egyptian precursor to chess.
No.
Huh. Well, there's an obscure bit of history for you.
I have a Senate board on my coffee table
Why?
because I like Senate.
Okay.
Played
So,
it with Tim, and like I want that on my coffee table to play with people when they come over, just because they'll go, "What's that?"
yeah, fair enough. Like, okay, maybe we should play Galactic Battlegrounds online at some point. Like, it's Age of Empires 2 wearing a Star Wars hat, but it's still a lot of fun.
Gotta love them hats.
You gotta love them hats. Sometimes the change of hat can make all the difference.
It really can. It just depends on whether the hat fits what you're trying to stick it on.
Yeah. On the other end of the spectrum, changing the hat can be the absolute laziest thing you can possibly do.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't have a clue what a short hike is.
I do not know. It sounds like it's a game about taking a short hike, I guess.
It sounds like a walking simulator. I'm really trying to be charitable given his positive description of it, but it sounds like a walking simulator.
It's kind of cutesy, but it seems to have this weird visual filter pushed over it, which is like 3D models being converted to...
Low res. It looks like
Low res?
bad 3D models with a bad low res filter over them.
Like, that would be PS1 era. Actually, a PS1
Not
looks
even.
better.
That's like a GBA game tier.
Yeah. So
I've just got
it's-
this prejudice that every walking simulator is DRS to.
It looks kind of like an exploration cross Animal Crossing type dealy.
Yeah, you play this little bird thing that needs to go up a mountain.
If you have to go that far for mobile reception, though, what on earth were you doing there in the first place?
Aren't you a bird? Can't you just fly to get better reception?
You can glide, but apparently you can't fly.
It could be an emu.
It doesn't look like an emu.
I mean,
It looks like a woodpecker.
Let me see.
I
Does it
mean,
actually say what
I've
it
never
is?
seen a blue woodpecker before, but I imagine they exist.
Oh, I've seen one before. One which everybody in humanity wishes they could unsee. And got a terrible movie a few years ago.
Oh,
But that's-
Woody?
Yeah.
I remember Woody Woodpecker cartoons when I was little.
It's because they're extremely annoying.
Is
He
that
has
the
the-
creature that had the world's worst laugh?
Yes.
No, don't!
Ugh.
Ugh.
Why would you do this?
So yeah, this one, it just looks like a cute little time killing game. The graphics are a bit off-putting, but other than that,
Yeah, so that's that one. And next, he Trine 4 and Shadowbringers. I fell off the Trine bandwagon at Trine 2. First game was pretty good for its time, but it hasn't really gotten anywhere since then, from what I understand.
yeah, I think I've got Trine 3, but I've never gotten too far through it.
I heard the
because-
developer went like Phil Fish insane.
Ugh. But isn't like Trine? It was supposed to be a trilogy because Trine, with 3 characters because Trine. Anyway, I'm not
Kind of
so
breaks
sure.
it kind of breaks the theme if you go past 3.
Yeah, the only person who can do that is Douglas Adams. So stop it.
Yeah, a trilogy in 4 parts that had 5 books.
Exactly. And Shadowbringers. I mean, Final Fantasy 14. You should totally play it. It's really good.
Man, what I wouldn't give to have time for that.
Uh-huh. Although,
I just love that game and that world so much, and I can't spend any time there because I don't have free time.
Although, apparently the Rathalos fight's still available somehow. I'm going to look this up. I saw something
Might
the
be
other
able
day
to-
that hinted at that.
You might be able to just queue for it as a special trial or something.
Yeah. I'm going to have a look. Let's see. When Google stops being dumb. No, Google's going to keep being dumb on me. So anyway, yeah.
So yeah,
One of these days
thank you
I'll
for the
sit down and
email
actually do
service.
it.
Oh dear, lagging. I just ran right into Fern.
Yeah. Gotta love that lag.
Oh boy. Yeah. I couldn't hear anything for a bit, and I'm like, well, I guess we'll wrap the email. Fern's still talking.
Incidentally, is there a way to delete somebody else's comment? Because I don't want to keep looking at this picture Ari sent me. Hang on.
Which one?
The last one you sent me. I'm not going to link it.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Oh, because it was funny. I forget that the link previews are a thing.
Link thing is their thing. So it's staring at me and I don't want it to.
It really is an abomination. But yeah, we're not posting that
That's a
one on the
joke.
Discord. You can come talk to us with your voice if you want to hear the further story on that one.
Yes. So yeah, thank you
But-
for your emails there. Even though we're going to completely butcher the sign off on that.
Yep. So we look forward to your email about Doom mods that we will not know anything about next week.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I never play them. Sometimes I do. I'm just really bad.
Yeah. I've recent-ish did a replay of classic Doom, just zipped through the game, and I do not remember very much. Doom was not part of my childhood, so I didn't. It never really stuck with me. was only
Everybody
there
in my
passing.
generation had Knee Deep in the Dead on their school computers.
Yeah, that was Warcraft 3 for me. So yeah.
I'm going to show my age here because when I coming through that age of school, it was Zork. Zork Nemesis,
Zork.
particularly.
In high school?
Yeah, the early days of it. All the because the school got all these Apple Macs from I don't know somewhere, and a lot of them came installed with Zork Nemesis, and nobody
Man.
could make any progression beyond the first area because it's Zork. Particularly Zork Nemesis, the logic in that game is so obtuse. You need to have a severe alcohol addiction in order to actually figure it out.
So Vol, you're up.
I don't have an alcohol addiction. Why would you
That's
think
what-
that?
Just
If you say
yeah,
so.
such complete bizarre moon logic. There was another
So-
game actually, but I can't remember what it was.
So yeah, we should probably move on. By the way, we're kind of floating
Yep.
in between topics here.
So news.
Yep.
You want to bring up the one that Ceresis actually brought our attention to during the week?
Which
I mean,
one
let's-
would that one be?
And let's talk about Digimon.
Oh, okay. We can talk about Digimon.
All right, go for it.
Oh, okay. You want me to talk about Digimon?
Okay, now I'm just going to throw you under the bus. So, let me just find the correct bit. Ceresis actually bought this one during the week where there is an announcement for a reboot of the original Digimon series.
I'm pretty sure that was
So-
me.
No, sir. Well, oh no, you linked it.
Oh, sorry,
And,
Vol linked it. Yeah, never mind. I'm getting all over the place. There was something Sarah just brought up, but I'm honestly blanking on what it was.
Sarathis responded to that thread about the
That's right. We're talking about
the Digimons.
traumatizing Digimon.
Yeah, and I came in and said that's the original season, not the trauma one.
I mean, I
But,
remember the original season when it was first airing.
Yep, I would watch it every day after school.
Yep, and most particularly, the thing people remember is the theme song.
Oh my
They-
goodness!
Yeah,
The worst bits of it, the parts that make it a weapon of mass destruction, were not in the TV version of the theme song.
no, that was
Thank
the extended
goodness.
version.
It's only the extended version that is just so awful that you have to wonder who okayed this.
Someone who knew that there would be one day somebody who would play it loudly in their car every time somebody with a loud car stereo goes by.
Just to terrorize people.
I have it set to the start of the vocals on that track as a hot save feature on my CD changer in my car, and all I gotta do is push one button.
You are a monster.
It's fair play. If you're coming up to that traffic light with your music blasting through your speakers, you already okayed this. This is fair game.
Yeah.
And my speaker system is way better than yours because the guy that owned the car before I did put in the most ridiculous stereo system in that car, but it can only play CDs and cassettes.
What? What's the point?
He must have
Well,
been.
there was only CDs and cassettes once upon a time. Fern, you know this.
Don't remind me. It makes me feel older.
Yeah. So yeah. They're rebooting the original season. I don't think this is going to stick in the West.
I don't think it's meant to stick. I think it's meant to give them an excuse to sell more merch.
Well, yeah. So that's the thing with Digimon. Digimon doesn't follow the same kind of logic as something like the Sailor Moon reboots that Serathis was talking about, because Digimon is a toy franchise.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's there to sell other Digimon stuff.
But isn't the anime sort of post dates the virtual pet or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it was like Digimon were supposed to be the boys' Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be the cool boy toy that was the Tamagotchi in everything but name, but you had cool dinosaurs.
Which evolved into robots, which evolved into some sort of unintelligible lump of pixels.
Yeah, if anything, the Digivolution system in the virtual pet was even more inscrutable than the one in the canon.
It was fine going from Argamon to Greymon to War Greymon, like that.
If you did that then you wasn't that like the worst route that you could take though?
It was, but
like, Argamon was like the best rookie, and it turned into like the worst champion or something.
Yeah, but with the digital pets, at least you could still tell what it was. Like if you ended up with something like Kawagamon, you couldn't tell at all.
Oh yeah, good luck with that. You get to up to Hercules Kabuterimon, that thing's just going to be a blob in pixels.
Yeah, the only one really at champion level that was completely intelligible was Sukamon.
Well,
it's a poop.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's a poop.
It's a poop. It means you've done goofed and you've screwed up and you've got to reset your system and start over.
So yeah. You done goofed if you got the poop.
I mean,
they brought
the most powerful one was Monzamon, the teddy bear. The second most powerful was Mamamon, who was like a steel ball with boxing gloves.
Mm-hmm.
The third most powerful were Seadramon and Airdramon, respectively. They were tied, roughly, statistically.
Yeah, but
as I recall it. I never owned one, but for some reason I have that knowledge and I don't know how I acquired it.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I do not even remember what the stats on the Tamagotchi battles you could do with those things were.
I mean, it didn't really matter at the end of the day.
No, but there was so yeah. So on topic here, we have a reboot of the first season. So this is a hard reboot. This isn't a remake.
Mm-hmm.
They are rebooting it set in the year 2020 with like cell phones and stuff.
So it's going to be awful then. I mean,
yeah,
more awful.
But hold on. But they go to the digital worlds where none of that crap matters?
Yeah, kind of.
In theory.
The whole idea of the digital world is the idea of Digimon and the Digiworld was built from the concept of the old 90s internet.
It's just a sort of this mysterious thing.
Yeah, and they go to the digital world, and this place is like covered with like weird techno crap everywhere and just surreal scenery with like telephones booths on the beach with their lines not hooked up to anything.
Yeah.
Like this is super 90s stuff that goes on with the visual imagery of the season 1 digital world. That's just gonna not work.
Let's face it, the 2020 version of the digital world is probably just gonna be cat videos and pornography, so
and Twitter.
Oh my goodness, social media.
So do not go to the digital world.
And they already did the social media thing well enough in the movie.
Did they? I didn't watch the movie.
The movie's pretty bad, but it does the social media thing about as good as you could hope in the early 2000s, late 90s, where they have all the people of the world send the characters emails encouraging them, and this gives their Digimons power to finish the final boss.
How can they do Itamon since no one in the current generation remembers Elvis Presley?
This is true.
How would that work?
And that's the other thing, right? Digimon Season 1 is one of the first anime to come over to the West and be, stuck in the localization bucket, along with Pokemon, DBZ, and that mess.
Yeah.
And it is a prime example of late 90s, early 2000s localization memery.
Yep.
Because every other phrase is a pun from the characters, because localizers didn't know what the heck they were doing. And all the characters are ridiculous comedic stereotypes with funny accents. With Edamon's Elvis Presley being the one everybody remembers.
How could you not remember that? It's so ridiculously
I loved Edamon. He was like my favorite villain from the entire franchise.
Yeah. He actually shows up, I believe it was Digimon Side of the Sleuth, and he's still doing it.
Yeah, they have kept the Elvis Presley jokes going for the entirety of the franchise's run in the West.
That may have actually carried over backwards too.
Yeah. I think I remember in one of the Edamon evolutions in Cyber Sleuth, you just see as one of the descriptions for one of his abilities.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really don't know where they're going with this, because you're effectively getting a brand new piece of Digimon media instead of a reboot, because you can't recapture what the magic accident that was Digimon Season 1. Yeah.
I mean, as long as they don't try and redo Tamers, because then they're going to ruin it.
You say that they always think of Tamers as the traumatizing one. Yeah, it's definitely the traumatizing one. But there was still some weird, slightly disturbing crap in the original series as well.
Like the Myotismon arc.
Yeah, the Myotismon abusing Gatomon thing. That was actually sort of uncannily out of place compared to everything else.
Yep.
Yeah, Myotismon has quite a few moments with him and his lackeys that are just really dark and should not be thought about too hard. And as a kid, you don't. But if you go back and rewatch Season 1 as an adult and you get the Myotismon arc, you're like, this guy's a monster.
I remember though that I was old enough to find it really unsettling. Like, it was obviously unsettling.
I remember going, oh, that makes him really bad at the time, but I cannot remember my emotional investment in it because it was so long ago when I was a kid and first saw it. But yeah. So, and yeah, they're not going to remake Tamers. Nobody in their right mind would try to remake Tamers.
No.
But you couldn't do it again.
You could not do that again.
There was nothing that you could do to it that would improve it. Like, it accomplished exactly what the lunatic that wrote it set out to do.
Which is make children cry.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everybody, it's all the older Digimon fans' favorite, and it's going to stay that way. And you just don't need to touch Tamers.
I don't know if favorite is the correct word for me.
It has the most coherent story if you don't count the random production mandate to add the character Rio out of nowhere to the story.
Yeah, that kind of.
I actually don't understand the story of Tamers at all. Like, I don't know how I couldn't understand how they got from one objective to another. I remember I didn't watch it very rigorously at the time, but I did watch. I'm pretty sure I watched all the episodes, but it seemed to me like it was more of a deconstruction than it was a conventional Digimon story, because they almost made it seem like everything that they thought they were trying to accomplish were artificial MacGuffins.
There's a couple key moments in episodes that are just whole episodes of info dump.
Yeah.
Like, you have a whole episode of them literally talking to a guy underwater who explains the whole plot near the end of the series before they go back to the real world.
Yeah, I still can't figure out exactly what they were going for there.
I'm not really sure what was going on with like that obnoxious owl thing that kept wailing about the Davas. Like, what were the Davas? Did they have anything to do with anything in the end?
They're tied to the Digimon sovereigns who, in that universe, run the Digiworld in absence of humans. Because the Digiworld is separate from the human computer networks we know in that particular universe, but still attached to them via the little game that the game makers made. It's really complicated.
Oh, because it was like a card game tie-in or something, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, So, yeah, the whole thing was a card game tie-in that the Serial Experiments Lane guy just took and ran with. and that happy accident won't happen again either.
No, that won't.
I say happy. That poor
It
Jerry
made everyone
accident.
cry, is what it did. We're not going to say why.
Yeah.
If you don't know why, you need to go watch it.
Well, Jerry.
Yeah, just Jerry.
So,
And the Pokemon equivalent of Kenny from South Park. Digimon, I should say.
Wow, that's a bit cruel.
it was probably the most impactful Leomon death of the entire franchise,
Yeah.
to be fair.
Well, it's the most impactful, but it's certainly not the only one.
Certainly
No.
not the first.
No, it has become tradition to kill a Leomon in every franchise.
Yeah,
If you see a Leomon in a Digimon show, it's going to die.
it's going to die in some really sad way, or at least
Sometimes more than once. In the first season, he dies twice.
Yeah, he comes
After
back
they
as
rebuild the Digi-
Sablemon or something, doesn't he?
Well, after they reboot the Digiworld and he gets reborn, he gets killed again.
Yeah,
So it just became a running thing. Leomon always dies.
stop killing Leomon, please. He's actually kind of cool.
Leomon is a cool looking Digimon. But
Does
so,
he?
yeah.
Does he ever like digivolve?
Yeah,
Or does he always die before digivolving? I can't remember.
in the first season, he makes it all the way to his mega form and dies in his mega form.
Right.
For his second time, he dies.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Digimon's. I just don't think the happy accident's going to happen again. This just has a bunch of warning bells all over it.
Well, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're trying. I don't think that they're trying to make any kind of happy accident happen. I don't feel like people make reboots with that in mind.
No, they're playing off. Maybe
Trying to
we
play off
can get this
nostalgia.
franchise back to selling toys again if we inject some life into it.
Yeah, so we'll apply the defibrillator liberally, and then see how many dollars fall out. Like, I think that's all there is to it. I don't think there's much interest in doing anything particularly interesting. Just
Mhm.
squeezing a little bit more juice out of the lemon.
They already did the thing, the nostalgia trip for nostalgia's sake with the Try movies. So
Yeah.
this is almost certainly going to be a toy vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how much traction they've got with the current crop of children's. Like, I don't know what children's are into.
Well,
Like,
Digimon
Minecraft
has-
and Twitch streamers or something.
as far as those franchises go, Digimon lost their crown a while ago, in
Yeah.
terms of Pokemon's biggest competitor.
Yeah, Pokemon can continue to pick up new fans from the younger generations and stuff like that. Even
Digimon
some of the
can't.
more small. Digimon just kind of keeps.
That's what makes me think this is strange, though, because I could understand them doing a project like this if they had some big project in the works, some tie-in product. Like, let's say that they had something on the scale to butt heads with the new Pokemon generation.
Yeah.
Then it would make sense for them to do this.
It totally would, but they
could be.
don't.
It could be that they're trying to eat Pokemon's lunch because they saw that everybody else was mad at Pokemon for being dumb this last generation.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're what you're trying to trade on is that handful of old people, older generation people who are our age, basically. Those
Yeah.
people who are still carrying that Pokemon versus Digimon grudge match.
That grudge is
that's-
over. Pokemon won.
That's why they've shifted all their media to video games and movies for aimed specifically at the 30-year-olds who watched Digimon when it was airing when they were kids.
Yeah. That's why the Try movies were set the way they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Digimon just hasn't been able to pick up new fans. It's just rolled along with the generation that watched it while they were growing up.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't gotten anybody else.
Nope.
So
Which is why Level 5 was able to swoop in and eat their lunch with Yokai Watch.
yeah. So, I mean, I like Digimon a lot. I've been a fan of Digimon, and most of it is, I just watched it as a kid and really liked it as a kid.
Yeah.
But it's still a special franchise for me. So I want it to do well and have good times out. But this thing's got warning lights all over it.
Yeah, it does. All right. Who wants to pick the next bit of news?
Uh,
We've got a fair
I
bit,
gotta pull
actually.
back.
Lots of little things.
so our
What?
There's that lag.
There we go. So our boys at Funcom, they are excited at Tencent offering to completely buy them out 100%.
I mean, yeah. Funcom had honestly already kind of gone down that road anyway.
This is just kind of them dying for good.
It's depressing, though, in its own way, because it's like, oh, well, I guess the China Bucks have won yet again. They've got the entire controlling interest in Funcom. Like, up until that point, there's still, in theory, you could turn back. But, like, anybody who's played The Secret World knows that Funcom is dead already and has been for a long time. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
Like that was just such a depressing experience going back and playing Secret World and seeing, all of this. The game, a lot of the game is very intact compared to what it was when I first started playing it. Because I paid the sub on that game, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really cool, and then to come back to it and see it being sort of, it's just a corpse being puppeteered around. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, like the game itself was intact, but it's just kind of the ideas behind it. Hello, Wolf.
Hello, Wolf Wolf.
It's dog time, is it?
It is
already?
dog time,
We haven't even
apparently.
finished the show, and your dogs are already barging in.
Yeah, well, we're coming close to the end of showtime, but yeah, they're here and they want attention.
I've been stretching things because we didn't have weeks.
So yeah, I mean, someone was going to buy out Funcom at some point. Even though Secret World is really good, it didn't make them much money, which is why they rebooted it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it making much money now. They totally flubbed the reboot. Lots of people were unhappy with it.
Lots of people were unhappy with it. You had Conan Exiles, which is really just catering to a very niche crowd.
The people who really want flapping dongs.
Yeah. Or who want to play Ark without the bugs.
So flapping dongs.
So flapping dongs. So it's hard to get sad about it. Like, normally if it was a good company that we really liked, seeing them go down this road would probably get a lot more salt.
Well, it's like we saw Funcom die when Secret World got re-released already.
They already extracted all of the tears that I had to give for them.
Yeah,
they killed the part of their business that I liked a long time ago, and I watched it die. And I tried to go back and I tried to like it again, but they stick it in your face over and over again. You can't get away from them trying to sell you stuff.
Buy our microtransaction nonsense. Hey, come to Agartha. It's a marketplace now.
Like my favorite implementation of microtransactions is Monster Hunter, because the microtransactions are all hidden in the PSN store.
Yeah, you've got the option to go to the PSN store hidden in the main menu, and that's it.
And they're all worthless too, that you'll never need or use.
Yeah, they're just some neat little cosmetic things.
They're pretty much stuff for YouTube content creators.
Yeah, like there's a good reason actually I did not really have that much resistance to buying Monster Hunter on the PC. Is because it earned that extra sale, I think.
I don't think they've earned $120 out of me.
No,
I already paid for this game. I paid full price for both the original and the expansion. I'm not paying it again.
No, as bad as game pricing in Australia is, New Zealand is even worse. But yeah, they delivered a really good game without loading it down with microtransaction garbage.
Yeah, I'll buy DMC5 again.
Yeah?
Well, you're going to buy DMC3 again as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I am about to give him more money for that. But,
well, there's that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times I bought DMC3.
And RE3 is coming out again as well.
Yep. I mean, RE3 is about where it starts getting mired down in the terrible writing nonsense.
I think RE3 is sort of like the last good one. And after that, things start to go sharply down.
Yeah, they spend a bit of time doing spin-offs, which are pretty bad.
4 was good for the time it came out when I played it. It's only in retrospect that I've started to dislike 4 more and more.
It hasn't aged well.
Didn't they do like some kind of appalling light gun game at one point or something like that?
Oh
Yeah,
where
they did.
the villain injects himself with the lightning T-virus and turns into like this hermaphroditic booby lady looking lightning monster.
Yeah, I'm not sure what on earth was going on with that. But, alright, we were going to talk about Funcom. This shows how much we honestly care about Funcom at this point.
Well, it's like we've seen that thing die. We've seen the corpse be desecrated. This is just another desecration.
Yeah.
The desecration is now complete. We desecrated the left half of the body, and now we're desecrating the right half of the body. The whole thing will now be desecrated.
Like, we peed on it earlier, now we're going to take a dump on it just to be sure.
Set it on fire.
That would probably help, actually.
That would probably be an improvement.
Get some salt in there, and maybe we can get the old Secret World back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
it's just sad. Like, yeah, but it's hard to get hard to get extremely sad about it because we've already done this dance. We saw Funcom die.
Yeah, it's just now we can expect literally nothing else from them in the future. 4 jerseys.
Yeah.
Now that Tencent's got them, they're gone.
Yeah.
So that's the end of our adventures with Funcom.
Yep, they're now a mobile game company.
Yep, that's probably what you'll end up with.
I don't want to play Secret World Mobile.
Dog, would you stop
I don't.
slobbering on my arm?
The
She's
dog
trying to
wants
drag
be
me
part
on
of
my
the show
chair.
now.
This isn't good.
Well, the next part needs you, Fern, because this is the one that you need to talk about because you've actually played it.
All right, which
Yeah,
one?
I really don't want to think about what kind of waifus would be in Secret World Mobile.
No.
No. But, Fern, Temtem.
Temtem launched, and it was the big thing of the week. Well,
Yeah, and that's about as long as it's going to last, probably, like most of these
that's
fans.
honestly about it. It's got its fans, but yeah. So let's get the elephant out of the room first. It's woke.
Super woke.
As super woke.
Look at it this way: when you play a video game, particularly an MMO, which this is, you expect the players to look like they had a clown explode on them, not the NPCs. All the NPCs are some sort of technicolor monstrosity or creepy-faced McDouchebag.
Tarted up drag queens, you mean?
Well, yeah. There is, of course, the character creation nonsense, and honestly, I can't bring myself to get angry at this. It's just... Ugh.
I think it's worth getting angry about, because if
You
you're
get
going to
angry
create a character, you should be able to make a character that you want. And that does not involve, you being some, strange progressive category.
It does try its hardest to make you some technicolor monstrosity as well.
Because no real people don't exist in those categories. The only people who think that those categories exist are people who have bought into deranged ideas. They don't exist in real life. Period. End.
So, yeah, moving past the woke character creation, we have the woke rival, who is some toothpaste-haired weirdo.
Warning coloration. Learn about it.
Yeah. So he's extremely annoying, but it does have at least a bit of a benefit, where you can be extremely passive-aggressive to him.
I do like me a little bit of passive aggression against NPCs.
Yeah.
That's a double joke right there, folks.
So yeah, you can be passive-aggressive to him to his face. You can be outright bitchy behind his back. So there's that.
For reference on what we were dancing around, since we didn't actually say it in the character creator, they let you pick your pronouns.
Yeah,
I
as
have
far
posted,
as they
I
do
posted
that.
a screenshot of this in the live show chat.
Yeah, so you pick your body type, which doesn't make a whole lot of difference either way, and then they let you pick your pronouns. You're supposed to be a child, which, I mean, child body types don't make a whole lot of difference. But they have an extremely adult face, or extremely anime adult face, and it's really off-putting. And just the way people treat you, they treat you like a child, even though you look like some sort of semi-short adult.
So you look like a manlet with she/her pronouns.
Yes. And
You all look like Ichigo from Fairy Tail.
Yeah, and rainbow colored hair, because it doesn't actually give the option to turn off highlights or tips. You've got to have two different hair colors.
What?
Yeah.
Because
want to-
everybody needs warning coloration.
If you want to pick a sensible hair color, a normal natural hair color, you will find no match for it on the other side. You might get one that's close, but yeah.
In a world where everybody has pronouns in their bio, everybody needs warning coloration.
Yeah.
Well, it's a warning sign for everybody.
So, given that it's a Pokemon game, a lot of people would probably expect me to like it. I don't. And the reason for that is this, and that is it's also an MMO. And as it's such being an MMO, they have to draw everything out endlessly. Like, remember back to Generation 1 Pokemon. You'd encounter a trainer out in the wild, they would have 1, maybe 2 text boxes tops. And then you'd be into the fight.
About short pants.
About short pants. Something nonsensical. Not here. Instead, you've got this 10-minute diatribe on something completely asinine, and then they might...
Gender politics.
Or they're standing there and being extremely creepy at you in some cases. And
So
then
it's actually a game about a world of pedophiles. That's what you're saying. Who all look
Okay.
like Golgo 13.
One thing that really did break it for me is about halfway up Route 1, which takes about 2 hours to walk up, by the way, because you have to stop and listen to extremely long conversations, and then it's just long on top of that. You have a mother and daughter group standing around, and they'll fight you as a team. Except both of them look like they're in their early 30s. Yet the mother is talking like she's speaking to a 6-year-old girl, and the girl is responding as such. It is the strangest thing, and it is really, really creepy. And that's going to be probably the word of the day for Temtem. It's creepy. It is like, this is making me extremely uncomfortable, and what on earth were they thinking?
You were really looking forward to this.
Like, there are...
I feel kind of bad for finding it amusing that you were so badly disappointed.
You should have known again.
I didn't look too deep into it before coming into it. I just
Speaking of should have known again, how about we talk about something a bit more unrelated? What are the Mons like?
Yeah, the Mons are okay. Like, the combat mechanics and the Mons themselves are fine. Like, at the start of the game, they're super cutesy, which is to be expected for this sort of game. What I find weird, though, well, not weird as such, it's just kind of annoying, is Pokemon, when you look at them, you can pretty much tell what their typing is just by appearance. Temtem, less so. Like, Pokemon, it's either some sort of element to them, like fire Pokemon generally have fire on them or something like that. Or they're, they match kind of a fire-like color scheme. Temtem, not so much. It doesn't help that I'm learning an entire new set of typings as well, which, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's fighting Pokemon, but I guess they always look unbelievably belligerent.
They're melee in Temtem. But yeah, fighting Pokemon tend to look belligerent. Or they've got some sort of fighting stance. Or they just look like they're going to punch you.
I remember the Primate episodes in the original Pokemon cartoon. With like, this is all about a Pokemon with anger management issues.
Yeah, that Primate had problems. The mechanics of the battle are fine. Like, it just plays like a regular Pokemon game, except they've got a stamina system instead of your PP. And what that means is each ability costs stamina. You recover a little bit of stamina at the start of each turn, and when you use up all your stamina, you will either, depending on how much you overshoot the bar, you will take damage. And at that point, you either need to skip turns or swap out. So if you exceed your stamina bar and do yourself damage, that Pokemon, that bad name, loses its turn.
Does Temtem mean anything? Like, is it short for something, or
No.
They just went for arbitrary 2 syllables.
Yeah, like Pokemon means pocket monster.
Yeah, well, it's not called Pokemon in Japan, or at least it wasn't. I don't know if it is now.
I think it kind of was, but yeah.
No, it was never branded as Pokemon until it was called Pokemon for the West, as far as I know.
Yeah, it was some other.
It was just Pocket Monsters.
Pocket Monsters translation. But
no, it was just Pocket Monsters. It was called Pocket Monsters.
Yeah.
In English in Japan.
Fair enough.
Or Pokémon if you prefer.
There you go. That's more like it. All right. So yeah, Temtem, from what I can tell, doesn't mean anything, and slapping Tem onto everything is really obnoxious.
Oh, they didn't.
It's not as bad as Pokey everything, but it's pretty bad.
Whenever you say Temtem, I think of that stupid little dog from Undertale.
Yeah.
The Toby Fox self-insert called Temtem?
Temmy.
Or Timmy, yeah.
Temmy was at least funny and was over pretty quickly. Unless you wanted to grind for the armor.
I'm surprised about that. Toby Fox, by all accounts, is an egomaniac.
I'm not sure whether that came before or after his Undertale success, because I didn't know him before Undertale.
It was probably after.
No, it was before.
Okay, there you go then.
It was when he was working on Homestuck.
Oh, he got infested by the community.
I
mean, if
I don't know the reasoning.
Shush you. Yeah, if you want a bad fandom, Homestuck is like top 10.
Yeah, it got worse as it went along.
Yeah. What else was there about Temtem? Ultimately, I ended up refunding it. I might look at it again later, but yeah,
it's not going to get less woke. I'm here to tell you, it's going to go woke, go broke.
It's going to go woke, go broke. Like, it's got some cool ideas behind it, but what ultimately made me refund it is the color saturation. It's horrible. It gave me a headache.
What do you mean?
Just the way everything looks like it's that very bright pastel-y.
You loved Slime Rancher.
Slime Rancher I can put up with. Can't put up with this one, and I don't know why and what the difference is. But
it might just be a little bit of everything.
It might just be a little bit of everything.
It's too much to put up with, given all of the little niggles.
It is a lot of niggles, and spending 2 hours walking up Route 1, like in every Pokemon game, Route 1 you can do in 5 minutes if you fight everything. Coming back the other way, it's maybe 10 seconds. But yeah, 2 hours just for that first little bit. The professor is Professor... I forget, who cares. But he has a really creepy face. You have your mother...
Yes, that seems to be a given in this world.
Yep, you have your mother character who is both making a really creepy face and making really creepy noises. It's like, hang on, is this woman my mother, or is she just some woman who kidnapped me at some point and is using me to say her empty nest syndrome?
The more you talk about this game, when you talk about how people got creepy faces, I just end up picturing this game as an incredibly oversaturated version of Night of the Living Men.
Oh, why?
I just imagine a bunch of Joe Biden faces on everybody.
That's close to the professor, actually.
Does he sniff your hair? Like,
I mean, it seems like he's about a second away from doing that. So yeah, mechanically, cool ideas. But thematically, it just comes off as icky. And some people really like it. And I suppose more power to them, but for me, it's just, yeah.
So you say it's an MMO. Is it like an MMO the way of classic MMO structure, where it's a sandbox, or is it like it just happens to be a linear narrative that you're sharing with other people?
Seems more like the latter at this point. It's kind of off-putting. Like, well, you can walk around town, you'll see other people walking around, that's fine. And then you do the obligatory thing you do in every Pokemon game, which is break into some old person's house. By walking through their unlocked front door. And you walk into some random person's house, and yeah, okay, they're sitting there on the couch and, doing whatever it is the NPC is doing, but there's like 40 people walking around this person's house.
He doesn't seem bothered by this?
They don't seem overly bothered by it, except for there's one guy who actually comments on it. And you can kind of say, well, why did you break into my house? Why are all these people walking in my house? You can give a response and just say, well, it's because it's there. So is
there a Team Rocket?
I think so, but I haven't encountered them yet.
Is the final boss going to turn out to be Donald Trump?
Probably. But yeah, other than that, it just seems like the usual thing. It's go and fight 8 dojos, as they call them, get the badges, and then do whatever it is at the end. Which is probably get more badges. Some sort of elite quad or something, I don't know.
Elite Quartet.
Elite Quartet, there you go. So yeah, I'm just going to stick with Yokai Watch as my Pokemon alternative.
I think I'm off the monster collecting shenaniganery after what Sword and Shield did to me.
He
Yeah,
says, and then they'll release a new Digimon game, and he'll try and play it.
yeah, there's that. They've got a new They've actually got Yokai Watch 4 coming out on the Switch in a month, I believe.
Something like that.
Something like that. But just after playing Yokai Watch 3, the amount of content in Sword and Shield was unforgivable. Like, Yokai Watch 3, you've got the storyline, and then at the end it says, okay, we've got the bug collecting minigame, the fishing minigame, all these quests, and you know what? Let's just stick Pokemon Mystery Dungeon on top of it.
Man, the Mystery Dungeon games are really underrated.
Yeah.
Well, the Game Boy Advance ones anyway. I didn't play the later
the
ones.
newer ones aren't so crash hot. They're okay, but yeah.
And yes, I would do a Digimon game, but that's because the focus in a Digimon game is raising the Digimon to fill out your log rather than catching all the new ones.
Aren't they doing a sequel to New World Order or whatever it was?
They're always doing a sequel to some Digimon game.
Yeah. Like, World
Like,
Order
it just-
was a nice throwback. And by nice, I mean endlessly grindy.
Yeah, you're not going to convince me to play Digimon World anytime soon, but I'll play another Cyber Sleuth or another, whatever the sequel to Cyber Sleuth was that I played.
I need to go back and actually do the sequel to Cyber Sleuth, because they did fix a lot of the quibbles that I had with Cyber Sleuth.
Yeah, you do have to remember the story of Cyber Sleuth to understand what the heck's going on.
Or you could just go to Steam and buy them as a bundle for the same price as you can get an individual one on PS4.
Steam
Hacker's
keeps trying to
Memory.
sell me those.
That was its name. I couldn't remember the name of the dang game. It's Hacker's Memory.
Yeah, that was it. Ow.
Did you just get bitten by your dog?
I got clawed by my other dog.
So yeah. Do we have anything else on Temtem before we start?
No,
looking
at
over
this
stuff?
point, I'm going to say, unless you're really willing to put up with the wokeness and not be creeped out by a lot of the stuff in that game, you can go for it and give it a go, I guess. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to say it's not worth the $50 they're asking.
Especially
Hey.
once you add the cost of the eye drops that you'll need.
Yeah, it is, at the end of the day, it's still early access. So, yeah, like, there are cool ideas in there. But
Is it like early access with a projected finish date?
Nope.
Or early access to avoid having a finish date?
Well, it's also a Kickstarter game, so, I mean, red flags all over the place.
Oh boy.
But I'm
there
thinking
you go.
it's definitely early access to avoid completing it. But yeah, I can look past a lot of the woke stuff once they stop being creepy about it, but they never really stop being creepy about it, so...
I don't
If
really
it
want
was
to
like-
look past the woke stuff. I want Get Woke Go Broke to hold true.
Yeah.
If it was still 2015-ish, I could get over the wokeness stuff of it, but we've just been so saturated in it. I'm done. I don't want any more.
Yeah. That's a
It-
lot
it is-
that's a lot of the prevailing attitude.
It is now a solid detractor and takes points away consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is now a hurdle to overcome if you put woke crap in your game for me.
Yeah. So yeah, like I'm just disappointed. There are good ideas. Like, okay, admittedly, having every battle a 2-on-2 battle is kind of annoying as well, but I can see the reason for doing that because it is multiplayer. It just makes balancing easier.
But yeah, it sounds to me like they're going to just eventually turn it into an endless grind.
Yeah, because at
And
the
on
end of the
top
day,
of-
MMO.
And on top of all of that, you've got to pay full price. It's not like Dauntless, which is what I thought it was going to be like.
Yeah, I thought this thing was like $15 when I saw people playing it on YouTube.
Yeah, I thought they were going to
like-
go either the really cheap price point or, you know, free entry. But no, they
No.
charge you a full price, $50 up front. And that's 50 Australian, so whatever that converts to on the US Steam.
If your video game asks me for which pronouns it wants me to use, you're not getting $60 from me.
Yeah, they need to give you $60 to get you to play it.
Like, you can negotiate with me and talk to me about how good the gameplay is at around 25 if you've got to put that crap in your game. But 60? Not playing that game.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe I'm going to wait. Maybe they'll come up with something that'll make me interested to play it. But at this point, nah.
I wouldn't hold my breath.
I wouldn't hold my
Their priorities lie with making everyone look like Ichia and
Or-
with pronouns.
Or I could go to play Yokai Watch 4 and collect a character that makes people uncontrollably fart. So there's that. I mean, choices here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When you're assailing a well-established genre with well-established giants and well-established alternatives, you really need to not screw anything up.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't a situation where there's a huge weak point waiting to be exploited. There's a slightly rough start to the current generation of Pokemon. It's not really enough to guarantee you a win. I'm sorry.
No, like, the game is just okay. It's not fantastic, and it's definitely not great along Pokemon lines, but as far as a game in a vacuum goes, it's okay. But people still have Sun and Moon. People still have Ultra Sun and Moon, rather. And there's still
they
a lot
didn't
of
go
content
anywhere. And it's not just that there's a lot of content, it's that the community is still interested in those things.
Well, a lot of the competitive community, those who haven't stuck with Sword and Shield, have gone back to Ultra Sun and Moon.
Yeah, and they don't think that they will stick with Sword and Shield because of the National Dex thing. Like, they narrowed the game. They made it less interesting.
They did.
And what does they add? What do they add? They add, like, the whatever weird gigantification thing. Infattening, that was the word. Infattening. Infattening, which the community has, collectively banned.
Yes.
So there's actually nothing in Sword and Shield to commend it.
Yeah.
There's a handful of new mons, that's it.
Handful of new mons.
And they're, like, what? Corviknight's cool, I guess, and that's it.
Yeah, a couple of the new ones are cool. Most of them are kind of... But...
All way more than averager.
Yeah. Like, every generation has some that are kind of off.
Trubbish.
Yeah, trubbish.
Garbodor is special. Mr. Trash Bags can explode on people.
Yeah. On the other hand, you've got creepy rapist Charlie Chaplin in Sword and Shield. Oh, sorry, hang on, I mean just Charlie Chaplin.
I'm sure Charlie Chaplin wasn't a bad guy. It's not his fault that Hitler wanted to look like him.
Wasn't he convicted of pedophilia later on?
I have no idea.
Something like
I
that.
don't know anything about him.
Something like that, anyway. I mean,
it's not Rolf Harris
at all.
Stat-wise, a lot of the new Pokemon are fine. It's just that they don't look very good. Also, some of the evolution mechanics are a real headache.
Just put Mega Evolution back in the game. That was a good mechanic. You struck gold.
You did.
You said let's put Digimon in our Pokemon, and everybody was like, cool. And then you screwed it up.
Yeah, screwed it up.
Infattening is not a better alternative to Digivolving. Sorry.
Nope.
Did they ever do DNA Digivolving in Pokemon?
For
yes.
Zekrom and so on, yeah.
In Gen 5, the legendaries can DNA Digivolve into a super legendary.
Yeah, but that's about the only ones that really do it. And that's fine. I mean, that's something special to them.
But yeah. Just the Mons, the woke.
Yeah, there's a lot. There are cool ideas in Temtem, but there's just lots and lots of little things that make it added up to be a no.
Well, it has to be better than the competition. That's the thing.
And at the end
That's
of
always
the
the
day,
thing.
it's not. Like, I would rather play Sword and Shield. Part of that is just because of brand power. You've got to overcome that first.
Yeah, but I mean, Pokemon's in a weak state right now too because of Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
Somebody can easily come in and eat their lunch right now because Sword and Shield is garbage.
Yeah, as far as Pokemon games go, or mainline Pokemon games go, Sword and Shield is not good.
Like, it's just hot garbage.
So you've got, Yokai Watch 4 coming out, and they're actually doing a global release this time around, from what I can tell. But now would be a good time for a new Digimon or something like that.
Yeah. So
while Pokemon's weak and before their latest big competitor is up on its feet.
And we saw Temtem start to chew into this little market with this hole in the market that Pokemon's left open.
Yep.
Because it was so bad, but it's done so many dumb things that people have just noped out.
Yeah.
Mostly the woke crap. This all comes back to the woke crap.
I would love to play a Pokemon-style MMO. That would be great. Hey, actually, you've got that Magic the Gathering MMO that could ultimately do that, but I don't think they will.
Well, I've not actually followed up on that, but every time I see a headline, it's like the Magic the Gathering MMO is not what we expected.
Yeah.
I don't know what it actually is, but every headline has said that it's not what the person writing the headline expected.
I mean, if they go the Pokemon route and you just throw giant monsters at each other, that would be actually pretty in line with the card game, really.
Yeah, but I don't think that there's enough brand traction for most of their monsters.
No, there's really not. Most of them are just numbers on cards.
Like, just exactly how much traction is Grizzly Bears going to get next to, like, Ursaring or whatever?
Yeah. So yeah, I doubt Magic's going to go that way. It'll probably just be, you know, you make your Magic-y type dude and go on adventures.
Planeswalking.
Planeswalking. Do some walking of the plains. All right.
All right.
Next.
We should probably wrap up.
Do you not want to dive into anything else? Actually, is there anything else worth diving into?
Well, there's been a lot of crap happening with WoW. Mainly the fact that they've managed to pile drive themselves face first into the ground.
Again.
Harder than last time somehow.
Oh dear.
I haven't looked up anything on this, so this is all you guys if you know what actually is going on.
Lately for me it's been, it's WoW, and my eyes just glaze. Right,
so they've released their latest patch. There was evidence from data mining that there was supposed to be what number are we up to? There's supposed to be an 8.3.5, which would bridge the gap between the current expansion and the next expansion, but that got cancelled. And
okay.
The implications of this are hard to gauge because, you know, it didn't come out, obviously. But the thing is, it seems like they've pretty much dropped the ball in every particular on the deployment of this this new patch, because the game was in a pretty rough state because it's been in a rough state all expansion, and it was sort of the last tier, the last chance to get everything right.
Yeah, I mean, they are on their bad expansion swing of the of their pendulum, but yeah.
But so they cancelled the next expansion, but what that means is they basically have to bring the entire story to a close with this patch, because there's no second patch for the next expansion. So they released a bunch of content, and before covering the specifics of the content, because I don't know it in enough detail to really cover much in the way of specifics, but everything was bugged all to hell and back.
Yay!
You know, it's worth noting that the QC department was pretty badly hit by the layoffs earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that's showing. Their community management team was also badly hit by the layoffs earlier this year, and as such, a lot of player concerns appear to have gone unaddressed.
Again.
Or alternatively, that they've gone back on ones that they said that they would address.
And I say it again.
So, as far as the particulars of the content go, like, most of the bugs have been ironed out now.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the particulars of the content go, apparently most of it is just kind of a snore. People have been saying that the best things are the raid, because their raids tend to be relatively high quality as far as content goes.
Yep.
And their new Horrific Visions thing, which is apparently like small group content where there are different tiers of achievement and you get better rewards the more effectively you run the content, which are basically like corrupted old godified versions of various locales with a series of objectives and a boss or something like that. And apparently those are really cool.
That does sound kind of cool.
The number of them that you can do per day is capped.
Boo.
And the only way to extend the cap, would you care to guess how?
Give them money.
No, dailies. Dailies.
Oh, even worse.
Dailies. That's what I hear. It's that you have to do dailies if you want additional goes at the...
So, what are they going to do for the story? Like, somehow Sylvanas needs to end up in Icecrown.
Sylvanas has already exited stage left long ago.
Right.
Like, she exited... She had a scrap with Xiaofang. She murdered Xiaofang. Well, she beat him in a duel, executed him, spat on the horde, and left.
Okay, which means everything that happens between then and the next expansion will happen in a book.
Well, it's already happened in a cutscene that we've seen.
Blah.
So, well, maybe they'll release a book subsequently in order to patch over some of the holes and try and add a little bit of interpretation of her motives and thinking at the time. But by and large,
never really works.
She just marches up to Icecrown, beats the living crap out of out of the Lich King, takes his hat, destroys it, and it turns out that that hat was sort of like Rongaminiad in the Fate universe, and that it's one of the cornerstones which separates the world of the Shadowlands from the material world.
Mm-hmm.
So that gouges a big hole in the sky, basically, and that creates the bridge over to the Shadowlands.
All because
Anyway.
the voices in her head told her to do it.
No, it sounds like it's not like that so much as like she's struck a bargain basically with one of the baddie powers that be that exists in the Shadowlands to carry out this scheme, because there's nothing Sylvanas is more afraid of than dying, and if there's no difference between the world of the dead and the world of the living, she doesn't have to go anywhere.
Yep.
So she does actually have an emotional reason for pulling all of this crap off. But the whole war just sounds like the basically she's been filling the coffers for her boss to give her the power to actually rip open the space between worlds. But the problem is the storyline as it exists for the current expansion, and it seems like, because they've been playing the old god thing the entire time, right? Everything was like manipulation, and everything was supposed to be a scheme being carried out by what's his name, N'Zoth, to get things to go his way. So his big scheme will be carried out, but they cancelled the next patch, meaning they have to end him this patch, and they don't have content planned for it. Mm-hmm. So after all of the scheming, you fight him in a raid battle, and you shoot a magic Shoryuken or Hadoken, the laser one, Kamehameha. You shoot Kamehameha at him. A magic Kamehameha that is more magic than regular magic Kamehamehas that people in Warcraft can do, and he dies. Yeah, that's apparently what happens. Unless there's some like super secret additional cutscene that happens for the mythic people.
I hope so.
Which changes things somehow. Basically, you go and you beat him up and he dies, and yeah. So a totally unsatisfying ending that everybody is very upset about, because they spent so much time patting themselves on the back for how, deep and intricate their story was, and how, you're being manipulated, we've got all these things in the works.
I'm glad they didn't actually say their story was deep and intricate, words, in public.
Well, they were clearly thinking it, and they were clearly trying to make it look that way, but in the end, you shoot a magic laser at the boss and it explodes.
Yay.
And apparently, and this is just what I've heard, is that the entire destruction of Ny'alotha sequence that immediately follows when you beat up the boss is ripped shot for shot from Return of the King. And the music is ripped beat for beat from Return of the King.
So you're just watching the end of Return of the King?
Yes, you are.
Well, yay.
Giant eyeball explodes and the tower collapses, and all of it is apparently shot for shot just ripped out of Lord of the Rings. So, yeah, a lot of people are not particularly amused by that, because they feel like they've been taken for a ride, basically. Which, they have been. They're right to feel that way, because that's what Blizzard has done. But basically, the entire expansion, which has been a damp squib, has come to an end with a spectacular damp squib. Yay. That's all very disappointing, even for the people who were already had spent an entire expansion being prepared for and inured against the massive weight of disappointment, still found ways to be disappointed.
Yeah, like no one expected Battle for Azeroth to be actually really good, because Blizzard had that cycle of good expansion, bad expansion.
But it's got the back end has all the same sort of rough edges that we saw in Warlords of Draenor.
Yep.
Right, like basically you've got Grommash Hellscream, who's borderline involved in ethnic cleansing.
Yes.
And suddenly he's your friend at the end.
Because reasons.
You murder his son, and he's murdered like entire clans of people, and suddenly you're buddy-buddy at the end without anything happening in the meantime.
Yeah.
Because, they pulled a raid tier out. Everybody's well aware of that now, that there was supposed to be an additional tier of raids sandwiched in there, and it just never happened.
Yep.
And we've got a similar sort of scenario of rough edges here, where there's tons and tons of plot threads have been set up and none of them have been resolved.
Mm-hmm.
There's supposedly a bunch of speculation about what happens to old gods when they die and what happens to them in the Shadowlands and what their interaction with the Shadowlands might be, since the Shadowlands are supposed to be sort of like the negative version of the Emerald Dream. And the old gods have always been dead set on worming their way in there.
Yep.
So there's a lot of speculation that, well, they just because we've killed them doesn't mean they can't just go and reuse them all again in Shadowlands. But
well, I mean, they're
here's
going to
hoping they
use
don't just
a lot of other
recycle
stuff.
everything. Yeah, I mean, Shadowlands looks quite nice, but
Yeah,
it looks nice.
there's a lot of cool things. They're making the right noises about classes and mechanics, but the plot is basically a carte blanche for people not dying when they're killed. Like,
Yeah,
you can
and
bring back everyone.
When I say it's nice, I mean it's nice.
It's
Like
nice.
like the way Fluttershy said, it was nice.
Yeah.
And I can't even remember what she was talking about, but it was like just a distinct lack of effusive praise.
Yes, it's just nice.
It's nice. There's a lot of nice architecture there, I guess. Like I like what their art direction is doing. I like what their art team is doing, but that's never been a weakness for them.
No.
The
Nice, so
resourcing,
this latest cutscene, I've turned it on while y'all were talking.
Yeah,
Holy crap!
it's full of clipping and rough edges, and
It's
like
sort of
it's
thing that was
really
rushed out over a weekend.
Yeah,
some
it's
of this
definitely-
stuff isn't textured.
yeah,
Wow.
it's definitely rushed out over a weekend. Like I'm sure they'll patch in all of the missing bits and pieces over the course of time, but it was clearly a rush job. They clearly just crapped it out as fast as possible when they realized what level of deep trouble they were. But yeah, it's basically they've made a total hash of the expansion. Every opportunity that they had to redeem it and get it back on the right track has been squandered in dramatic fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the balance as well is at its most disastrous that it's been all expansion.
Which is saying a lot.
The top comment on the video for the cinematic is when you only have 2 minutes left to finish your essay.
I hope you enjoyed reading this as much as I enjoyed writing it.
When someone puts that at the end of an essay, you know they're padding.
I've never actually seen an essay with that written in it, but I have it on good authority that is a stylistic flair that people have used.
Read
Yeah.
space filler.
So yeah,
But yeah, so the thing with this is that what it basically cements, where it was only, likely to probable before, what this cements is that the next expansion is the make or break for World of Warcraft.
yes.
If they screw up again, it's over. The World of Warcraft project will go into sharp decline and they will disappear, and it will only take the space of an expansion to do so.
What-
They, from all accounts that we can extract from inside, it sounded like during the course of this expansion they dipped below the 6-figure mark in subscriptions,
Ooh.
well below,
Ouch.
and they need to save themselves, or there are going to be more jobs on the chopping block.
Mm-hmm. What I found that the community is actually getting really salty about is that they've got the nerve to call Battle for Azeroth the Fourth War. So,
I don't get it.
well, people are hanging out for the Fourth War being Warcraft 4.
Oh, Fourth War. I thought you said Fourth Wall, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounded like to me, and I have no
Oh,
idea
right.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, so Fourth War. So yeah, people are
Well-
salty about that.
put the war back in Warcraft for the third expansion. They've done that.
Yeah,
Fourth.
and failed.
Yeah. So, oh man, I got my WoW injection with the two months I stuck in a WoW Classic.
Yeah.
That was enough.
WoW Classic was great. Still is great. So yeah, we've got one expansion I suppose to go, and that before people as a whole just give up on WoW.
Well, I'm curious how WoW Classic's still doing, but they don't release numbers.
No. I wonder how many people it actually cannibalized from live.
Yeah, I mean that was a fun experiment.
Yeah.
So I would be interested to see just how badly have they screwed up. What's the ratio of players here now that the player bases have settled?
Yeah, the thing is that a lot of the streamers will go back to the live current one every time there's a new patch, and the
Yep.
streamers are, like it or not, they're a force for promotion for that.
Oh yeah, it's free marketing for Blizzard if they play the cards right.
In fact, it's pretty much the thing that got it to work, because even if lots of people wanted it, getting the word out required those voices.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't particularly like them very much.
No,
But,
I don't understand them.
But yeah, from what I've heard, a lot of the big names have gone back to live, but they don't seem enchanted with it.
No.
They're just there because that's sort of what they're supposed to do, and they probably have a tacit agreement with Blizzard to stay in proximity of the live game and not to dunk on it too heavily. But yeah, I don't know how well Classic is doing. There isn't really any reason for it to do poorly. However, it's a case of, will Blizzard or will they not cannibalize that player base?
Mm.
They do have an opportunity to really learn from that project,
Yeah.
especially since that project became successful before Shadowlands had progressed too far in development.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've got a lot of things in the works.
Yeah, it wasn't just successful; it was wildly successful.
Yeah, well, wildly
Outrageously
successful
so.
from their point of view, because they were convinced it was a disaster waiting to happen. But they've got time to iterate on the things that they have in the works now. But from the things people are saying, it sounds like Shadowlands is headed down a dark path. They've got lots of positive things, but ultimately, this is an opinion that I've heard, and I think there's some merit to it. One of the things that keeps killing these expansions, and it kills it more in proportion to how little else there is that they link too many systems together.
Yep.
And so they end up making every task mandatory for every task, in a sense. Like, what I mean to say is they think of it as a positive that you gain benefit to every system from everything that you do.
Yep.
As opposed to turning that into a giant work list. Because the most common example people give out is Netherwing, right? Because if you want to get your Nether Drake, you go and you do quests on the Netherwing Ledge or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't care about that mount, you don't do it, and there's nothing to make you do it.
No, there's maybe a piece of gear or something, and that's about it.
Oh, there's gold in the boomerang.
There was the boomerang.
The boomerang is sort of novel, but you get that pretty early on, don't you?
Yeah,
You get that like honored.
And there's gold, but you can get gold any old way that you please. You could farm it off of mobs if you wanted. At no point are they going to say, no, you must go and fill out your Netherwing reputation, because it's going to contribute to your raiding effectiveness, your PvP effectiveness, your ability to craft things, your ability to gather things, your ability to progress the story, your ability to progress your character's class progression through your artifact power or whatever. Like, they didn't tie it into every single system.
And it just puts a big anchor on anybody that says, okay, I need to take a month off to go deal with family stuff or whatever, get really hammered down on my job. They come back to WoW. Oh, I'm behind and can never catch up again.
There, that was your artifact weapon, your Azerite weapon.
They always put in catch-up mechanics, but, I mean, that doesn't mean you don't end up still having to do all of the work.
Thing is, though, they were saying that they learned this lesson 2 expansions ago with the Garrison. Like, the Garrison you needed was tied into everything.
I don't think that they learned the lesson. I don't think that they learned the lesson that we think that they learn when they say they learned a lesson.
Yeah.
What they learn is that we need to package this up a different way to feed it to them in a way that they don't vomit it back up.
Yes.
That's the lesson that they always take away. We need to change the packaging, not we need to change the substance.
Yes. And in the past, whenever they've done that, it's taken them 2 or 3 expansions to actually figure that out.
Yeah, but it seems like there's a system, or there's sort of a faction type system implemented in Shadowlands, which it looks a lot like they're going to bake it into everything, including character progression.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that that's a good idea. I think that one of the things that they should be learning, if they were paying any attention, from Classic is that Classic is divided up into a billion different parts.
Yes.
That's why people feel like they're in control of choosing what they want to do.
Yeah, if you can PvP, it's fine. You can go and do that on its own. If you want to raid, you can do that on its own. So
well, if
like
you
that.
want, there are tasks to do in Classic, and when you finish one task, that task is done, and you can go find something else to do.
Yeah.
That's the defining aspect of Classic. Do you want Crusader? Go farm Crusader for a while. You're gonna be sitting on that Scarlet Highway for a few days, but it's something you can do and finish. Do you want to get your dungeon set? Go get your dungeon set, and then once you got it, it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to grind your PvP rank, you don't need to go and do your dungeon set. You could arguably say you need to go and get Crusader, but realistically, you could just pay somebody to put Crusader on your weapon for you.
Yeah.
But there are alternative avenues to getting the results you want there.
But they've gotten into this habit of tying everything to everything. So, everything generates you artifact power, everything generates you rep progression, and you need the rep progression to do things with. You need it to get vanity objects, you need it to get your raiding gear set up, you need it to get, this, that, and the other strange thing, tokens to attempt at various things, and so on and so forth. There is no need for every single system to be tied to every other system, because if you do that, players no longer feel like they're choosing what to do. They feel like they're being handed a work list, and they've got to check off everything on it, otherwise they fall behind.
Yeah.
And it takes away from the significant accomplishments where somebody took their time out of their day to go get that Netherwing Drake or go get that Crusader enchant to give to people. And that is something that is special because they had to dedicate time to a specific task to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They did not just build a generic number up until it was high enough from literally everything they did until they finally got it.
But the mentality that they seem to have cemented in the most recent expansion seems to be one focused around, they feel like what they are doing is making every activity valuable to everybody.
Yeah.
They see it as a value adding proposition, not a job adding proposition. They don't seem to realize that they are in control of how much value they hand out per activity.
Mm-hmm.
They are, though. Like, let's say that every type of daily in every zone in the game all contributes towards your character's power for the purposes of raiding. Let's say, for instance, because they're pretty much how it is.
Yep.
Now, there is absolutely no reason why you could not hand out all the raid-related power in one zone. They're actually in control of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that in the literal sense. What I'm saying is that they chose this path. They chose to put everybody on the treadmill forever. And they can't then turn around and say, well, you can choose not to do it because, look, everything produces this resource. Yes, but everything is also finite. You've capped everything by day and everything by week. And if you want to stay up with the play, you've got to keep doing everything on that work list.
Yeah. But,
there's no player agency there because you are placing the cap. As a developer, you are saying this is the amount that you can gather this day or this week. You better hit that cap or else.
And I know it's getting a bit old, but at the other end of the spectrum, you got Final Fantasy XIV, which has learned this lesson. Like, if
everything's pretty separated out.
Yeah, if you want to craft, you craft, and you will earn rewards related to crafting. If you want to raid, you will earn rewards related to raiding.
I don't know what happens if you try and PvP, because I just get really confused.
Well, yeah, if you want to PvP, you get confused, and you give up. Don't PvP in 14, it's not very good. But yeah, you actually do earn tokens and you can unlock PvP rewards and armors, things like that. They don't make a whole lot of difference to character power.
I'm under the impression that the purpose of PvP is to ride the Yoko Watch, Ghost, and Strike poses.
Yes, that sounds about right. So yeah, everything you get, if you do a thing, you earn rewards related to that thing and not really to anything else. Like, some of the stuff carries over, but like, I mean, you're going to get transmogs for everything. Woof.
But the long and short of it is that WoW is a disaster piece. They made it worse in the next the patch that they just released, which apparently they are trying to overhaul the balance again while live, and they've changed the values on everything over the course of the past week. And so, and they've had several disasters where they've made sections of the player base get left behind because they've changed the drop rate on things partway through the week or whatever. So some people are ahead, some people are behind. There's no rectifying it. They did another one of those situations where they throw a Fallout 76 style ban wave through and ban a whole bunch of people who didn't know where they were committing an exploit.
Yay!
Like, apparently the scenario that played out was there are chests, and you can go and pick up the chest, and you'll get some stuff out of the chest, which is valuable to you for your progression or whatever. And the spawn rate was abnormal on the chest.
Okay.
And so people would fly back around and they say, oh, that chest is there again. I guess it must have respawned. I'll loot it. And they might do this 2 or 3 times while they're doing their dailies and then wander off.
I mean,
they get put in the same bucket as the people who stood on top of that chest and just clicked it over and over again.
That's Blizzard's fault. It's like, oh, there is a player. There is a chest. The player is going to open the chest.
Yeah, well, apparently they have supposedly tracked down all of the people that were affected by this and have rescinded all those bans and presumably credited them with the game time.
Should hope so.
That won't help the fact that they're now behind.
No.
But another one, apparently the auction house just stopped delivering money to people for a while.
Ooh. Yeah, okay.
It was all backed up in the system, so they got all the gold out and they got it back to where it belonged. But yeah.
Can you imagine the rage?
There was apparently quite a bit of rage, yes.
Delicious rage. Like, I mean, the WoW forums are always a good source of just a very entertaining drama.
Yeah.
But that one would have been a new high.
But yeah, so what I hear is that from watching the various content creators for World of Warcraft that I still, for whatever diseased reason, watch, the apparently one of the major CMs that got fired in the big purge, was one who was working on a project for Blizzard that had been kept secret from the players, where they were building a database to collect, collate, and sort out for the use of the developers literally all of the feedback on everything mechanical.
Something that would be genuinely useful, by the sound of it.
Yeah, but they fired that guy.
Of course they did.
Near the start of the year, and now they're trying to hire somebody to do that job.
Which means that person's going to have to probably start from scratch.
Well, no, I think he's working for someone else now. But the project will probably have to be started over, yes.
Yes.
I mean, the systems have moved on since then. But, that was the sort of project that they decided was not worth enough to them to keep around.
Something that keeps track of feedback would be a no-brainer in any MMO community management team.
But, Blizzard Activision doesn't really think so. But, I mean, Blizzard Activision doesn't really know much about what goes on at Blizzard, much in the way Blizzard doesn't know much about what goes on in their game. But, basically the short version is World of Warcraft has now positioned itself in a make or break for the next expansion. They've made every mistake that they could make, closing out this one. They've left everybody disappointed and on the brink of leaving. There is not enough content to tie people over to the next expansion because pretty much all that there really is to progress at the moment is just the raid. And we're already in that stage that we were stuck at for 13 months in Warlords of Draenor.
Mm-hmm.
And they're currently in the process of constantly overhauling systems. So, yeah. I wonder how many people will be left.
Yeah.
Are we gonna see another one of those drops down to 600, 700,000? Are we gonna see a drop down to 60 or 70,000? It's the numbers apparently they shrink really, really small for short periods at a time. People just let their subs lapse.
Yep.
And when they've put out bad enough content that has been out for a long enough time, everybody lets their sub lapse. It becomes like one of those niche cases where you've got somewhere between 100 and 500,000 players at most who are actually signing in a week type of thing. It's really gotten bad for them. Their concurrents are down around, you could fill maybe 2 realms type of level.
Wow.
When they've hit their nadirs. This expansion has been really bad for them. They've managed to keep it quiet because it's never dropped down to the really bad stages like those sub 6 figures for any huge amount of time because they'll bring out another patch just at that nadir point. But the fact is that they've gotten down to the point where most of their player base just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, they moved on.
Because it's not just that, it's that the thing that they look forward to comes out and it turns out to be uninteresting. or disappointing or a failure to meet the expectations that have been set by the hype or whatever. And, they play for a week and then they get bored again. And the amount of time that they'll commit to it each time gets shorter and shorter each cycle.
Yeah, people will only take so much disappointment.
Yeah. But at any rate, so I got out ahead of this one. I haven't touched WoW all expansion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on the wagon. So I don't really have any intention of going back to it either. Like, I don't have time for one thing, but for another thing, when I do have those spare bits of time, FF14 is just better.
Yeah, in every way.
Yeah, it used to be that there were arguments to be made in favour of WoW, but there really aren't anymore, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, Final Fantasy XIV's just continued to get better. WoW has just continued to get worse.
Unless you've got some kind of twisted affection for some of the World of Warcraft characters, but I doubt that if you have a long-standing affection for any of those characters, that those characters are in any way still the same by this
Or
point.
still alive in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people used to love Sylvanas, but she kind of took the crazy pills, listened to the voices in her head, which may or may not be another god, and has just gone off to be the bad guy now.
I'm trying to understand if there's, because they always bring Rathian back at some dramatic moment, like he's important and the people care about him. Do people actually like that guy?
Yeah,
Because he seems like a smug Mary Sue that nobody likes.
yeah.
Like he seems like Medan, basically. Like that they've jammed Medan's character into this Black Dragon shell. Because he always seems to show up at the last moment with all the legendary crap to save the day.
Yeah.
But they're making a big deal about his return in this patch as well. And yeah, he does save the day, obviously.
Yeah.
But
I'll just take the other Rathian. She flies in and burns things.
yeah, as far as I can tell, though, this patch, the big storyline for this patch, ends with an exact replica of Lord of the Rings, preceded by an exact replica of the scene where Thrall shoots down Deathwing with a magic laser.
But
So-
in this one, the eyeball's on the door or the wall or something instead of in the tower.
Yeah, the tower is the tower, and the eyeball is in the wall.
I mean,
But
what's the difference, really?
it's still a rip-off.
At least last time a big bad was taken out by a giant laser, there was a reason for the giant laser to be there.
No, they spent like a whole X-Pack building up how big important it was to power up the laser.
Exactly.
And that was still hated by everybody.
And they did the same in Final Fantasy XIV for Heaven's Song. The giant laser in that also had an expansion build up to it.
Oh,
So yeah, you can do
Oh,
giant
crap.
lasers as long as the giant laser doesn't come from nowhere. Anyway, we should wrap up.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yes.
continue to fend off these dogs.
I'm keeping my brain only about 3/4 turned in when we talk about WoW because I just don't want to fall off the wagon.
Yeah,
You won't, believe me, you
You
won't.
won't. at this point,
Uh,
the other expansion could hook me. It could. It's not likely to though.
I don't think I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm
It's-
going to be actively attempting to anchor you guys onto the wagon.
Well, all I need
new
to do is
X-Pack comes
remember
out.
that every time they've hooked me before, they've come back and immediately disappointed me.
Every time you fall off that wagon runs you right over.
Exactly.
Well, there's nobody to ask me to raid anymore, so why would...
I think I
Yeah,
know
that's
maybe
okay.
one person who still plays WoW.
Yeah, that's the other thing. All our friends don't play it anymore, and we got jobs now, so we don't have the same kind of
Get gerbs.
massive internet networks that we used to.
Yeah. Get gerbs.
Freaking gerbs, man.
Freaking gerbs.
All right. I guess we should start wrapping it up.
Let's do the thing.
All right. Email topic of the week. How much does WoW suck? Anybody still play it?
many lots.
Anybody care? All right. So, closing comments go.
I'm actually enjoying playing Monster Hunter again. So that's the thing.
I'm not enjoying Barioth at all. I wish Barioth would go away.
Barioth is just a big meanie head, is what the problem there is.
Raphtalia is absolutely adorable.
Also,
Which
yes.
age, Raphtalia?
Yeah,
Old
if you've
Raphtalia.
got to be careful there. Well, she's only what, 6?
I think she's the same age through the whole series.
She
just
is.
One looks taller.
She's just got a growth spurt that happens overnight.
She's like 10 years old the entire franchise.
Yeah, so
Just don't think about that part.
Just don't.
But it's Kei Naofumi does it totally wholesome.
He
It's
does
like-
it wholesome. He comes across as,
Much to Raftalia's utter frustration.
yeah. He does
Like,
the
I think
actual Big Brother thing, not Big Brother thing in anime, which goes down a very dark path.
I love the dub's delivery of, I think if you was my daughter, Raftalia.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Also, there
It's
is
like-
Doggo panting on my microphone, so let's get out of here.
All right. I wondered what that was. All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Sayonara. Bye-bye.